Hey, Bloomington Normal, and welcome back to Speechless on Cities 92.9, the news and talk of Bloomington Normal. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I am your host, Kev, and wow, I have so much to cover today. I'll be honest, I do, but I got to start off and give a big thank you to Paul Garcia Productions. Thank you, Paul Garcia Productions, for sponsoring this video. Paul Garcia Productions, based out of Bloomington Normal, Illinois, does a phenomenal job on making different commercials and advertisements for a plethora of different local businesses. And he is also a sponsor of this show. Thank you so much, Paul. If it was not for you, I wouldn't have been able to get my most recent video of the protesters out on YouTube so quickly and even get it in the first place. Paul Garcia Productions is there to help your business get more business. So make sure you guys all go check out Paul Garcia Productions to help your business get more business. But let's get into the show, everybody. I'm Kev Phares, and you're listening and watching to Speechless. So we are back with another week of Speechless. I am live. I know many of you guys, if you're tuning in right now, guys, I got to start off with a very honest and loving Happy Mother's Day to everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in on this beautiful and wonderful Mother's Day. I know that Mother's Day is kind of an interesting holiday, and there's a lot of things that I want to get into about it, and that's what we're going to start off with in the show today. Starting to talk about this term that we've seen come up a lot recently, birthing people. Birthing people. Have you guys heard of that one? I know I have. So birthing people, I'm going to go back to just last year in a bill put forth with the president. Woke liberals push, this is out of Fox News, woke liberals push to replace mother with birthing parent to appease the transgender community. The Biden administration, congressional Democrats, and liberal groups across the country have repeatedly ditched the word mother for their vocabulary in order to appease the transgender community, which reportedly accounts for only 1.6% of the United States adults. The National Education Association, the country's largest labor union, recently proposed a resolution that would change the word mother in contracts to, quote, birthing parent, for the purpose of being inclusive to the LGBTQIA community. Using this contract language, members need not worry about how the Board of Education solicitor defines maternity leave, mother, and or father. The language is an inclusive reflection of how LGBTQIA plus Alphabet Mafia members build families, the proposed resolution said. This is the latest evidence of the left-wing effort to change the public's perception of what defines a woman. Okay, so let's get into this as it talks about Mother's Day. This is not, and it's not just this one National Board of Education resolution. There's actually this seen in multiple areas of our government, of woke liberals trying to push an agenda that pushes out women in favor for the term birthing people to appease, like I said, the LGBTQ community. So I have a video here I'm going to pull up. And this is of Representative Cori Bush. Representative Cori Bush, this is about 2 years ago, in a congressional testimony talking about, quote unquote, birthing people. So I'm going to pull this video up here and make sure that we can all hear it just fine. But Representative Cori Bush was in front of a congressional testimony, and here is what she had to say when it comes to birthing people. Here is that.
Considered a normal patient care. I sit before you today as a single mom, as a nurse, as an activist, and as a congresswoman. And I am committed to doing the absolute most to protect Black mothers, to protect Black babies, to protect Black birthing people, and to save lives. Thank you, and I yield back.
Protect Black birthing people and to save lives. She also talks about Black babies, and she says that she wants to protect Black babies, right? So I want to start with that. But nowhere in that congressional testimony did she talk about the Black babies that are aborted. In 2013, 2015, and 2016, a Black baby was more likely to be aborted than to be born in New York City. And for the years that I didn't list in the last decade, it was pretty close to about a 50-50 split as to whether or not a Black baby would be born or aborted. But I digress. Back to the birthing people idea. This is about the erasure of women, and in this case, the erasure of mothers. The same people that claim conservatives hate women because they're pro-life call women birthing people. Isn't that crazy? The same people that claim conservatives hate women because we're pro-life, call women birthing people. Liberals claim that conservatives reduce women to their biological ability to have children in terms of being pro-life. And now this is obviously false. What we do is we simply believe that there's a sanctity to life and the ability to create it, and we want to protect that. But then the left, these progressives, reduce women to their biological ability to have children to appease the transgender movement, or transformer movement. Really, I don't always know if I'm allowed to say transgender, or else YouTube might remove me. But to fully understand that women and mothers have children, I'm sorry. What I want to say is that Cori Bush, when she says this, is she fully understands that women and mothers are the only ones that can have children, but wants to virtue signal to the woke. And this is the opposite of feminism, or at least what feminism was originally intended to be. Feminism once said that women and men are different, that women should be respected and treated as equal for their complementary status with men. The way that women have different abilities that men don't, such as having and bearing children. And there's a sanctity to womanhood, motherhood, and the differences that women hold that men can't. Look, everyone, I cannot get pregnant. I'm a young man. I cannot get pregnant no matter how often I identify as a woman or how often I might feel like a woman. Like Shania Twain said, man, I feel like a woman. But like the idea of being a mother, a mom, mama, whatever you want to call it, it's an earned title. It's an earned title that has sanctity to it. You know? So I want to talk about my mom a little bit in celebration of this Mother's Day. My mom was a hero to me. She worked while raising me and my sister. She was a school teacher. And I had a dad and he was in the picture, but he oftentimes worked long hours in Chicago. And today's Mother's Day, so I want to support my mother. My mom worked, like I said, raising me and while also raising me and my sisters. Then flash back to when she was in college. When my mom was in college, she picked up cans on the side of I-55 and dug ditches to pay for school. She had to dig ditches to pay for her education at Illinois State University. So she taught me about the wonders of being able to work hard for yourself, right? Work hard and build something for yourself. Then she also taught me to fail with dignity. Now she actually, so when I say she taught me to fail with dignity, she enabled me to try anything that I wanted to try, just about, within reason. And so one of those things was she actually allowed me to try out for my middle school basketball team. Now, for everybody out, especially on the radio airwaves, I'm a 5'7", 5'8" man, 5'8" on a good day, 5'7", 5'8" white guy. And I'm not particularly in the best shape. I'm not, I'll admit that. And so my mom still let me try out for my middle school basketball team. I had no shot at making this middle school basketball team, but my mom still let me try out because she knew I wasn't going to make it. And she taught me that I needed to be able to get through adversity. That was a great thing that my mother did for me. She also enabled me to be even better at the things that I was good at. She helped me write speeches. I've always been a pretty good public speaker. That's one of the reasons why I'm on the radio now. I've always been a pretty good public speaker, and she enabled me to write better speeches. She helped me with them, critiqued them, stayed up with me through long hours of the night, making sure that my speeches were the best for when I was doing ones in front of classes. When I spoke at one of during my graduating class, we had an event that I was able to speak at, not necessarily my graduation in and of itself, but when I graduated from high school, I spoke at an event. She helped me do those things. She kicked my butt to become an Eagle Scout, helped me through the process of becoming an Eagle Scout. That's the great thing about motherhood. That's the things that my dad would have never been able to do with his role as a financial provider for my family. My mom has a very specific role in my family, and she carried it through. And look, I get it. Not everyone, or everyone does do motherhood a little bit differently, and some better than others. But at a bare minimum, mothers are females that have had children. Birthing people is woke nonsense that shouldn't be taken seriously whatsoever. Period. But still, the left wants to come at mothers with the idea of quote unquote birthing people to appease 1.6% of the country's population. But if you can't handle a world where we respect women and appreciate the idea that they are the only people that can have children, have no fear, everybody. Certain corporations are offering you an alternative. Have you ever just wanted to fast forward through an entire day? Like an Adam Sandler movie with a universal remote control? Just click a button and completely skip an entire day without any recollection of it occurring? Well, companies like DoorDash, Levi's, Ancestry, Bye Bye Baby, and more are now saying that you can. Yes, they are saying that you can skip through entire days. In an email I received from DoorDash within the last month, a note about Mother's Day. They said, "We understand that Mother's Day may be a difficult time for some. Click the button below if you'd prefer to be removed from additional emails and push notifications this year." Yeah, click that button if you want to be removed from push notifications about Mother's Day. So now you can just opt out of Mother's Day if you don't like it. In an article from the Daily Wire, opt out of Mother's Day, a new corporate trend, reeks of anti-family activism, critics say. So there's been a lot of companies like what I just listed that are now pushing this opt out of Mother's Day campaign. With Mother's Day coming up, we understand this can be a difficult time of year for some. Read similar emails from Nespresso. If you would like to opt out of Mother's Day, you can simply click below. Levi's, Ancestry, MAC Cosmetics, Stitch Fix, Bye Bye Baby, Etsy, and Cartier were some of the other companies included. The thing is about all this is there's two questions to answer. Is why are they doing all this? And why all at once? Well, I want to start off with why all of these companies are coming out with it all at once. It's because this is just how woke virtue signaling goes. Once one company changes their logo to rainbow for the month of June, everyone has to do it. Once one company puts a black square on their Instagram, everyone has to. Not because it's right or because it's a well thought out marketing strategy, but because it's fashionable. It's fashionable, and they also don't want to get canceled by the woke mob. It's the same reason Bud Light brought on Dylan Mulvaney. And look how well that's working for him. They're trying to. Why are they doing this, though? Let's get onto that. Why are they doing this? Now, some people could have the perception that it has something to do with erasing motherhood or the traditional family as a whole. And I do think the left tries to do that. But in this case, I don't necessarily think that's what it is. Doesn't mean it's not of some kind of woke virtue signaling, though. This action doesn't really fit the narrative of trying to erase traditional family or anything like that, because they're still offering emails and such and promotions regarding Mother's Day. But some claim, including these companies, that it's to help those who don't have present mothers, who didn't have present mothers, or they had mothers that passed away. That's what these companies are claiming. Which I genuinely believe that's why they're doing this, but it has woke repercussions. To say that is actually to have that kind of a promotion saying that we are going to let you just opt out because you might have gone through something hard is incredibly unhealthy. It's incredibly unhealthy to tune out Mother's Day because you're grieving. What's a better time to celebrate all that you might have accomplished despite not having a mother in your life, or all that your mom that was there that passed away had done for you and everything that she was able to do for you while she was alive? Telling the rest of the world to get out of your way or to just hit pause or to skip an entire day and not be bothered because you're going through a personal struggle isn't really how the world works. But the left is pushing this agenda that we should all be in a safe space at all times, but only a safe space within their own agenda. I want to be clear. Why can't I opt out of identity months? I've complained about cultural appropriation on this show before. Why can't I opt out of, why is it that I can't opt out of being bombarded with woke logos when during the month of June, like I said earlier, during the month of June, we have all these different companies' logos that put the rainbow on it. Why can't I opt out of that? Why can't I opt out of the black squares that we see everywhere, or all the pandering to the black community during Black History Month in February? Why can't I opt out of all that? Because under their agenda, that can't be triggering for anybody. That's not. but they'll still allow you to opt out of Mother's Day, likely Father's Day. But the thing is when it comes to Father's Day, people are already personally opting out of Father's Day. Even companies kind of ignore Father's Day because they want to promote fatherlessness. But the point of all this is wokeness is trying to tell us that we have a right to fragility. That you have a right to a safety from any kind of hurt. And want to know why I'm part of the most depressed and medicated generation? It's because society tells us that we can just opt out of hardship. Resilience is made through learning to cope with this hardship, learning to deal with your problems. Because learning to deal with your problems is harder, but a lot more beneficial than opting out of them. We all need to live in the real world, but unfortunately, we have a society that tries to allow us to opt out of this reality. And that's the whole point of these opt-out campaigns, is because you should just be able to live in your safe space and not have to be triggered by anything as long as you live within the woke agenda. Opt out of Christmas, opt out of Mother's Day, opt out of Thanksgiving because it might trigger you about the distorted history regarding natives and pilgrims. It might trigger you. Everybody, later in this show, I'm also going to break down my interaction with some protesters at the Ron DeSantis event. But I wanted to start off with just talking about Mother's Day. Everybody, make sure you go out there and thank your mom, if you can. If you can. And if your mother has passed on, say a prayer. And I'm saying a prayer for them too. But celebrate the idea of what your mother was able to do. Because women and motherhood there's a sanctity and a divinity to it. And I'm incredibly thankful for it. Everybody, I do have to take a break here, but go check us out on Facebook, on YouTube, everywhere in the meantime and during the break. And if you're listening on your radio, make sure to listen to all those advertisements. Our sponsors are doing a great job. Thank you for listening. And we'll be right back with more Speechless on Cities 92.9, the news and talk of Bloomington Normal. Okie dokie. Let's check out what's going on in the live stream. Sorry if that was a little hectic at the beginning there, guys. I've been prepping for this one a little bit, and I've got a lot of different things I'm talking about today. Hope you guys can all hear me just fine. No worries on being late. But yeah, I think when it comes to these ideas of motherhood and them trying to erase it, one, they are trying to erase it with the whole birthing people thing, right? And this opt out isn't necessarily trying to erase motherhood, but it is pushing a woke agenda in the fact that we all just need to be snowflakes. We need to live in our perfectly protected bubbles and never be exposed to anything that could actually alter our opinion. And I think it's hilarious because I got a texter, one of my hecklers at the number 309-451-9299. I'm sure you guys all know that number by now. If you're a consistent watcher, 309-451-9299. Again, that's the number you can text or call in at. And I had a texter. I see I'm getting a call right now, and I'm going to put them on hold because I want to actually, I'll take it for a sec. Hi, this is Kev. Who am I speaking to? Hey, George, you wanted to come on? Yeah. Talk a little bit about Mother's Day. Okay, we can. Oh, really? Okay, well, I'm going to bring you on and we're going to hear just why you do that in the next segment. My next segment is a little bit shorter, only takes me till about 3:30, but it'll be on in just about a minute. I'll let you stay on for that segment, okay? Okay, sounds good. I'm going to put you on hold until then. Okay, guys, we got Cities George coming up soon. He's a really funny guy. He called in at 309-451-9299, but I had a heckler that said I'm not able, or that I need to be taught critical thinking skills. That's the whole idea of this opt-out campaign. Or what I'm saying about this opt-out campaign is that if you're not challenged, if you're not put through any kind of a tribunal, if you don't have people telling you that you have, or that you need to be able to get through your hard times, you need to be able to grieve healthily. It's not healthy to be able to just opt out of Mother's Day, right? That's what companies like DoorDash and things are trying to tell you, is that you can just opt out of it. You don't need to be able to deal with your problems. You can just shove it under the rug and hope it never boils up. That's not healthy. Anybody who says it is part of the woke snowflake mob that is getting into things. Sorry, I'm about to come back, everybody. And we got Cities George going to talk with me about Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Day, everybody. And thank you guys for joining me. Let's bring George on. Hey, Bloomington Normal, and welcome back to Speechless on Cities 92.9, the news and talk of Bloomington Normal. I am your host, Kevin. Wow, do I have such a wonderful Mother's Day show for you guys. And over the break, I actually got connected with a good friend of mine, and he's a good friend of the station. He consistently calls in, and his name is Cities George. Cities George, are you on the? Can you hear me? Are you on the line?
I can hear you a little low there, Kevin, but I hear you.
Awesome. I'll turn myself up, make sure you can hear me a little bit better. I want to make sure, so we only have a few minutes here before the next break, but I want you to be able to, you were talking to me a bit about your ideas on Mother's Day. Of course, George, always keep it clean. What do you have to say?
I always do. I don't know what's wrong with you people out there. You know, your mother got up at 3 o'clock in the morning, 1 o'clock to feed you, change your nasty, filthy diaper. You celebrate it one day a year. I don't. I celebrate every day as Mother's Day as long as my mother was alive. I give my mother flowers at 8 years old. I give my wife flowers for 42 years for being a mother.
That's beautiful. And you shouldn't even have to, that should be your kids. That should be your kids that are doing that, right?
Right. But I celebrate my wife for being a mother.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you should. You should. Every single day of the year, right, George?
Exactly.
So then how do you feel about,
I want your little rotten bottoms one day a year, or did she take care of you? And when you fell down and scratched your knee, and she did the ultimate after she bandaged it, she kissed it to make it feel better. You people need to wake up in this country. You need to wake up. Stop being independent. Think about what your mother gave up and your father gave up. But your mother gave up everything.
Absolutely. I want to know what you think about this. I want to know what you think about this birthing people thing. You're right about everything with the mother, but I want to know what you think about the idea that we have people that call mothers birthing people now.
That's what animals are. Your mother's your mother. A birthing is a cow or a horse having a colt or a calf. Your mother's your mother. Get some heart, you know? People, they don't have any heart.
Absolutely.
It was one of the biggest days of the year for Mother's Day. Birthing? What are you, an animal? That's what it sounds like to me. It sounds like you're just an animal that's being birthed.
Do you think that kind of plays into their agenda? I mean, they try to say that that pro-life people want to treat women like animals as if all their purpose is to have children. You think maybe that kind of plays into their agenda a bit? Calling it birthing people plays into that kind of narrative?
Those are the people that don't care about nobody. They care about only three people, me, myself, and I. That's all they care about. They don't care. They don't care. But call your mother what you want, but you better call her mom because she took care of your rotten bottom. I mean, you know what?
And you're not just saying me, right? It's not just my rotten bottom. It's everybody's, right? It's
that's everybody's
inclusive view there.
Bottom.
Yep.
Yeah. Nasty, filthy diapers. And they changed it when Dad would walk away. A big, strong, 300-pound, solid muscle guy walked away and says, "That's not my kid."
Mm-hmm.
You people need to wake up. You shouldn't be one of May 14th for Mother's Day. You should have every day for Mother's Day because one day she's not going to be here.
Absolutely.
You know, and I kissed and loved my mom every day, and I still say it wasn't enough that I told her.
Absolutely.
Because how great my mother was.
Mm-hmm.
Wake up, look around, quit listening to your friends. Your friends get you mad. You know why they get you mad? Because they tell you something that's important, that's good for you, not bad for you.
Mm-hmm.
So you get mad at them.
Absolutely.
You know, take that time that you spend on the video machine and take your mom out to dinner every week, once a week. Get over yourself. You're nobody special, but only to your mother.
Mm-hmm.
You see, you don't realize that. You're special to your mother, but nobody else.
Yep. No one can have but no one besides God can have the love for you that your mother does, you know?
I see guys read articles, a guy killed 20 people, but his mother never stopped loving him.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
You know, your father's looking at you going, "What the heck was that all about?" I can't say the other word. But, you know, I have to keep it clean, folks, for Kevin. So, you know, I can't say certain things.
Yeah. Well, we are coming up against the break, George, but final thoughts in the last 30 seconds here.
Yeah. Go give your mom a hug and a kiss and tell her thanks for everything she did for you.
Absolutely.
And stop being who you are.
Yep.
Be who your mother wants you to be.
100%.
Most mothers want you to be a kind, considerate person. Be that person. Get over yourself, you little rats.
Yep. Thank you very much, George. We do need to get to the break here, but thank you so much for calling in and
Take
absolute
care,
wise
brother. Have a
words.
good
Always
day,
always
brother.
appreciate you
God
calling in,
bless you.
George. Yep. God bless you too. Everybody, we got to get to a break on the radio. Thank you again, George, for calling in. Everybody else, you can text or call in at 309-451-9299. Again, that number is 309-451-9299. Give your mom a hug and a kiss and say thank you. Thank you. Everybody, thank you for tuning in. We will be right back with more Speechless on Cities 92.9, the news and talk of Bloomington Normal. Okay, everybody, I am back here on YouTube. Good call. Yes, George is a consistent, frequent flyer on cities. He's from the community. Great kid, or not kid. He's a great guy. Acts like a kid though. He's got a lot of energy for him for being an older gentleman. Love that guy. And so yeah, he keeps it real with everybody. I remember when my boys were little, they brought me dandelions. Loved it. Now I'd aw. That's really sad. My mom's out of state. If she's watching right now, doubt she is. She's with my dad in Georgia right now, and I'm in Illinois. And so she's with my dad right now. And but God bless her and thank her, and thank you, Mom, for everything you've done for me. I love you. Mm, But I've texted her already today, and I plan on calling her this evening when she's kind of wrapping up her day, so I don't interrupt the kind of things that she's doing. I'm really, yeah, I am. I think, Laura, you're right. It's sad, but you know, some people, I think everybody needs to appreciate their mom a little bit more, even those that do a great job of it. Everyone can appreciate their mom a little bit more. And we're gonna be coming back here in a little bit, guys. Working on fixing some of my banners here. I'm looking at your guys' comments. Great to see you. I will be having my buddy Josh Bender on in a little bit. Josh is a high school history teacher, great guy, and he's going to join me in the second half of the show. I've had him on before. He always brings an interesting perspective, being a high school history teacher, and also just a lover of politics in America. So I'm going to definitely bring him on in the second hour, talk to me about a lot of different things, because he's just a good guy. So yes, Josh will be on soon. But I am on a break from the radio right now, so stick around. I'll be back. Make sure you guys like the video. I'm going to go through, I don't know if you guys saw, but in the next segment, I'm going to talk about my protest video that I went and kind of try to debunk some of the things that people said in it because it is just hilarious. Things that happened out at this protest that I was at. So I'll be back in a few minutes to talk about that. We are still got about 45 seconds here. And like I said, I'm just doing some work on my banners to make sure I got everything out correctly. Mm, There we go. I wanted to put that up there. comments here. Someone in the chat farted and it wasn't me. That's funny. Okay, guys, coming back now. And we are back with Speechless on Cities 92.9, the news and talk of Bloomington Normal. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. You might be tuning in on the radio, and if you are, I hope you guys are having a safe drive, or you're just sitting at home listening to the radio. That's awesome too. But you could also be, if you want to interact with me in the studio, you can go onto City's Facebook or Twitter, or my personal YouTube, Speechless with Kev Phares, or my Twitch, even if you're a Twitch person. I am on Twitch, Speechless with Kev Phares, last name Phares. We'll be able to host, you'll be able to look at me, and you can comment in there, go right there and see everything that other people are saying, and you can interact with me and I can interact with you. It's a great time up there in the chat, and you can see me even when I'm off air, and I'll be talking, and I talk about the things I'm talking about during the breaks and everything. So everybody, in the meantime, we're going to get back to the show here. In the first two segments, I talked a lot about Mother's Day at Cities. George called in, talked about opting out of Mother's Day. But first, I talked a little bit about what's going on with the woke agenda that is calling mothers birthing people, whatever that really means, trying to erase women in that respect. But I also talked about opting out of Mother's Day. I talked about how different companies are making it so that you can opt out of Mother's Day, so that if you have a poor relationship with your mom or something like that, you can just ignore your problems and have a snowflake mentality and not actually try to grieve and get through things. This is why we have a depressed generation, an overly medicated generation. It's because people are not learning how to accurately deal with their issues. Now, the other day, I went out and I talked to some people that it seems like they have a hard time dealing with their issues. These people were protesting Ron DeSantis' appearance at the Peoria and Tazewell County Lincoln Reagan Day dinner. I went out and I have a full video on YouTube. You can go look it up. Again, my YouTube is Speechless with Kev Phares. And I'm going to go through just a few of the things that were said when I talked to these protesters. It's a really funny video. Like I said, highly recommend going to watch it. But here is a few things that were said during that video, and I'm going to debunk some of the things that were said. So let's start off in this video. I'm going to add it to my stream, make sure that you guys can all hear it on the radio as well. We're going to start off with one person who was trying to talk a little bit about abortion as it related to Darren LaHood, and not just Darren, but also Ron DeSantis. So let's watch that here. You can see behind me, there are plenty of protesters over there. Plenty of protesters. We're gonna get talking to some of them, see what they're out here protesting today and what they're doing out here. So let's get going. Mind if I see your sign? What are you guys out here protesting today?
Hate.
Oh, just hate. Yes.
In
In what way?
Intolerance. Ron DeSantis just doesn't accept free thinking.
Oh, he doesn't accept free
Individual-
thinking. Ron DeSantis doesn't accept free thinking. The guy that literally that has pushed out some of the most conservative policy that and actually answers questions at press conferences, unlike Joe Biden, unlike J.B. Pritzker, doesn't accept free thinking. Okay, let's keep going.
Rights. He wants to decide everything for everybody. Authoritarian.
So my body, my choice, my freedom,
That's
my
the sign
voice.
that
What
she's
is that
got.
in reference to?
Reproductive rights.
So then I push her on it. So reproductive rights, you mean abortion then, right?
I mean, reproductive rights.
She won't say she won't say abortion. She won't even say. It's because that's what the left does, is they want to push this narrative. They want to push this narrative that it's not actually abortion. It's reproductive rights. It's health care. In fact, that's what this next lady says. Let's hear what she has to say. And I stun her with one of my responses, but let's hear exactly what she has to say.
Healthcare, women's rights for healthcare. And hey, you're a man, so I don't think any man has any right.
I actually identify as a woman. she tried to just call me out and say, well, you're a man, so you don't deserve a say on it. You don't deserve a say. And so listen to that one more time. Let's listen to that one more time.
Healthcare, and hey, you're a man, so I don't think any man has any right.
I actually identify as a woman.
Okay.
And she's stunned. Awesome. Thank you very much.
And I hear about
Then she
LaHood,
changes the
and he
subject
says it's
because I stunned her.
pro-life, doesn't tolerate hate, and Darren LaHood is one of the promoters of hate in Illinois, and he should step down and step aside.
In what way? She says that Darren LaHood promotes hate. And then I ask her, does Darren LaHood promote hate?
Darren LaHood was the Trump state organizer, and now he is advocating and inviting and welcoming.
So I think that's really important to point out. And then I have another video to play that goes along with this in just one moment. But I think it's really important to point out that she says that when I ask how does Darren LaHood promote hate, her first response is that he was the Trump organizer. So to these people, this is part of Trump derangement syndrome, everybody. And this video is called DeSantis derangement syndrome because they're all really mad at DeSantis as well. But Trump derangement syndrome is perfectly evident when she simply equates being a supporter of Donald Trump as hateful. That is inherently hateful to these people. And yet I'm the one that's told I don't critically think. These people are crazy. But I actually got to catch up with Darren LaHood at this event. And so I want to make sure that I can show this video and everybody. And I talked to him about multiple things. One big one, of course, was about this hateful rhetoric that he apparently has. So let's watch this, or let's watch and listen to this video about Darren LaHood after this Lincoln Reagan Day dinner. Let's watch this. Awesome. And I am here at the Lincoln Day dinner in Peoria County with Congressman Darren LaHood, who we just heard from you as well as Governor Ron DeSantis. What does it mean for your district to have Ron DeSantis come visit?
Well, if you saw this crowd tonight, biggest crowd we've ever had in Peoria Lincoln Day history. Ron DeSantis brings a great conservative message. He's done remarkable things in Florida. We heard that here tonight. People were really mesmerized by his speech. And our future is bright as a Republican Party.
Absolutely. So we had some protesters here, and I went out and said hi to some of them. And they talked a little bit about Ron, but they also talked about you. They said you were a hateful fascist. Do you have any response? Are you a hateful fascist, Congressman?
Well, I noticed that their protest began with a drag show today at 4 o'clock. So I think that says it all.
Yeah.
So no, I think I represent my district well.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And there also one last question is there's obviously a lot of speculation behind Ron DeSantis running for president. What are your thoughts on the idea of him being a presidential contender?
Well, listen, I think he's done a remarkable job in Florida. He hasn't announced anything yet. We'll see if he announces for president. I think people expect that he will do that. And I think he's got a great agenda to run on.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Congressman.
Thank you.
So that was me talking with Congressman LaHood. Like I said, amazing event. And he even brought up the fact that there were drag queens at the beginning of it. And no, Congressman Darren LaHood is not a hateful person. Anybody, left or right, that wants to have a reasonable discussion with the man will be able to. Now, there are some objections that people claim that he's not the 100% the most conservative, whatever. You can have that conversation. I don't really care. It's not about being absolutely the most conservative. He's a good person that knows that what he's doing is virtuous. And so there's that. I want to keep going a little bit more with this protest, though, because it is just insane. And again, go check out this full video on my YouTube. Regarding these protests and everything. Speechless with Phares. You can watch a full 15-minute video of me going into the depths of these people. It is absolutely insane. Everything that I got handed to by these people. But let's keep going. I'm going to keep going with some more of just what these people are saying. So let's I have this one lady talks to me. She flags me down, says she needs to talk to me about all this stuff.
Is atrocious. The banning of the books, trying to do with any gender studies program at the university. He's trying to eliminate black fraternities at the university.
Black fraternities?
His motto is "Make America Florida." And Florida,
I agree with that motto, everybody. Make America Florida. That is his motto, and I love it. Let's make America Florida. But let's keep going.
Most unsafe places for a minority in this country.
And I asked her about why would you say that?
Because of the laws that he's passing so quickly.
What kind of laws? What one specifically?
The Don't Say Gay bill.
What is it in the Don't Say Gay bill that actually makes it restrictive?
What it is that you can't say gay.
That's not true. That's not true. It's actually that in the classroom, you aren't supposed to talk about sexuality for those. I believe it's K through third grade. Maybe it's K through fifth grade. My guest later will be able to clarify that for me exactly. But let's keep listening to the lies that this lady says.
From kindergarten or talk about gay through high school.
Do you think children in K through 5, K through 6 should be learning about sexuality?
I don't think it's about teaching sexuality.
It's entirely about teaching sexuality.
I think it's just about accepting people for who they are, where they are, and letting them live their truth.
Just let them live their truth. This is what the left does. They overly simplify things to fit their agenda. Because if you make it so that nothing's actually about anything, then my claim that they're trying to sexualize young children is wrong, because nothing's actually about anything. Okay, keep listening to what this lady says next, though. That's an absolute lie.
Nobody's trying to teach. There's no gay agenda.
There absolutely is a gay agenda, and here's how I'm going to prove that exactly. There's a video, and I've played it multiple times on this show, but I'm going to keep playing it because apparently they don't believe there is a gay agenda. There is a video of a Disney executive saying exactly that there is a gay agenda. And so here is that video right now. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm not playing that on YouTube. Here it is.
They won't let you show this at a Disney show. And I'm like, okay. So I was a little like sus when I started. But then my experience was bafflingly the opposite of what I had heard on my little pocket of Proud Family Disney TVA. The showrunners were super welcoming. Meredith Roberts and our leadership over there has been so welcoming to my not at all secret gay agenda.
What's that? Let's hear that one more time.
Welcoming to my not at all secret gay agenda. And
my
so,
not at all secret gay agenda is what she says. It's not at all secret. But according to this lady at the protest, let's listen to that one more time. She says, there's no gay agenda, apparently, despite the fact that somebody who has a lot more power than this lady, I assume this person doesn't have nearly as much power as the Disney executive. Disney executive says there is a gay agenda, and it's not so secret. But it's apparently a secret to this woman at the protest. Let's keep watching. That's not what it's about at all. You can talk about your parents. It's that they don't want to be talking. Or in Florida, they passed legislation to make it so that we're not talking about sexuality in the classroom. It's insane. I do want to go back. There was another part of this, though. I think this lady is just so funny to show how just uninformed some of these protesters are. So I go up to this one. She's got a sign that says, DeSantis destroys our freedoms, and I ask her about it. Here's that. Books. He destroys your freedoms with books. Keep listening. She can count to two, everybody. Books and the right to our bodies. That's wow. Very, very articulate. I've got a little bit more to talk about when it comes to this for the last segment of the show. I'm going to break down a few more things in the YouTube. So go over to YouTube if you guys want to see the Speechless with Kev Phares. You can also go onto Facebook. You can go onto Twitch, onto Twitter, Cities 92.9 Facebook, Cities 92.9 Twitter. Checking me out on all those different places. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share. That'd be really helpful. We need to get these messages out to people. But check out the full video on YouTube too. Please, please, please. And we will be right back with more Speechless on Cities 92.9, the news and talk of Bloomington Normal. Okay, everybody. So now I'm off of the radio live, and I realized the video was not playing on YouTube. Very sorry about that, guys. Or maybe it wasn't at one point. I'm going to add myself back in here too. So, but this was just insane. If you guys haven't watched this whole video, it's crazy. I need to find a certain part of it near the end, but I'm going to go to this part right now too. I think the funniest was what I had right at the beginning. I didn't play it on the show, but I just thought this was so funny. It's just me asking how everybody's doing. How is everybody doing today? That's just how the left is. That's how the left is. It's just how is everybody doing? Boo, boo. You're doing awful. They're doing awful. They're doing awful. You want to know why? Because they live every second of their lives being so flippin' angry about everything. They can't have a good time ever. They can never have a good time about anything. And it's just really funny. So, let's see what some of these comments are. No tie. Yes, it was very hot out there, especially when I was being crowded by so many people. I got Antifa Joe over here too. Antifa Joe was, you can see right there in that screen. He was crowding up on me a lot. And he was a big dude too. Um, so let's I'm gonna find some other places in this video. So that lady, yeah, she was just funny. And then I got a drag queen that was yelling at me at one point too. Oh, this was really funny right here. As I talk to this Peoria proud person, I might bring this up on the radio too. Tarian, we have people all over the place. So
right, wonderful.
yeah, I'm really just out here. I'm a big supporter of free speech and want to make sure everybody has the opportunity to have
Thank
their
you for that.
part of it.
I thought you said you're press. Where's your
Yeah, cities. Where's your press pass? Yeah, they tried to keep asking me about where my press pass was. Where's your press pass? Where's your press pass? Because I was filming and everything. There were multiple people out there filming things, and almost none of them had press passes on. But apparently, I needed one. Discrimination. They want to talk about fascism and everything, but they don't actually need a press pass. Everybody can technically be a part of press now. They don't know what fascism is.
We would like to see it.
Okay.
Do you have it with you?
No, not on me. I haven't even. Why do you deserve to know my name?
Why do you deserve to be?
If you don't want to talk to me, you don't have to. Why do I deserve to be out there?
Okay.
I deserve to be out there because it is public property. That's the thing. That's why I deserve to be out there. It's a public sidewalk. I'm allowed to be out there.
I think we're just gonna ask that if people aren't comfortable that you walk the other way.
That's my entire plan. If nobody wants to talk to me, then I'll
Then walk
keep
the other
going.
way.
Then walk the other way.
The opposite way, please.
You can't tell me where I can and can't walk. You can't tell me where I can and can't walk. I love saying that. I was like, no, you can't flip and tell me where I can go, where I can't go. Who the heck do you think you are? You think you're like the king of the sidewalk? This is a public place. This is a public place. What do you think? I'm the king of the sidewalk. You can't walk there. That's who she thinks she is. What a flippin' idiot. What an absolute dumbo. No, I could walk wherever the heck I want to. I don't need a press pass to do so. And I can film. You want to know why I can film? Because we're in a public area. You can't hear her? Sorry about that. Let me see why that might be. Sorry if you guys, Charles said that you can't hear it. Present share screen. Should be hearing it sometimes. Josh, could you hear it? I see you in the waiting room. Could you hear it? Oh yeah, you can hear it just fine. I don't know. I don't know why that is, Charles. Sorry about that though. We're gonna be back with more of the video coming up soon here. And I'm going to play this. There's one part right here that I'm going to really get into. I had to stream. I hope you guys can hear it. If anybody else is having trouble hearing it, please say that so in the comments. If you can hear it just fine, please let me know that as well. I don't know what the issue could be, but we're going to be back here in about 45 seconds. And then we'll finish up this, and then we'll get my buddy Josh on. Okay, coming back. And we are back with Speechless on Cities 92.9, the news and talk of Bloomington Normal. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I am back here on Sundays, 3 to 5 every Sunday. I'm your host, Kev. And I am here. Happy Mother's Day to everybody out there. If you didn't hear, I got some segments in the past from the last hour about Mother's Day. You can go listen to those on YouTube, on Facebook, everywhere pretty much that you get a podcast. Go check it out. If you missed any of that, I'd love it. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, though, on this Mother's Day. I had this video that I posted on my YouTube. I also posted the link to it on the city's Facebook if you want to go find it. I was at the Ron DeSantis event in Peoria, Illinois. He came and spoke to the Tazewell and Peoria County GOPs. And he was invited there by Darren LaHood. And so I went and talked to some of the protesters outside of it. And there was a multitude of things that happened. I got told that I couldn't walk on the sidewalk because I didn't have a press pass. It's a public sidewalk. And I did have a press pass. I just didn't want to wear it because it was like, what was the point? I mean, everybody there was filming stuff. It didn't matter. I got yelled at by a drag queen that I needed to move off to the side of the sidewalk because I was blocking their drag performance, which I more than happily obliged to move off to the side, simply because I was there to see these drag performances. I wanted to see exactly how they were protesting, and they're protesting Ron DeSantis by having drag queens go up. And so these are the mentally healthy people that are defining our political landscape right now, everybody. And so I have one more person. I was informed that he is the boyfriend of a McLean County board member, and I had a kind of confrontation with him. He was one of the protesters. Here is kind of my confrontation with him. He got his phone really up into my face. I was informed that this was a Mr. Garcia, who is the boyfriend of one of the McLean County board members. Here is my confrontation with him.
So much for engaging with me when you did. I support your guys' right to free speech. I hope you support mine as well. God bless you. I'm praying for you guys. Thank you so much.
Hail Satan.
He said, "Hail Satan." I want to play that one more time for you guys. I gave them a well wish after having a not very productive conversation with him. And he said, "Hail Satan." Here's that one more time.
Guys' right to free speech. I hope you support mine as well. God bless you. I'm praying for you guys. Thank you so much.
Hail Satan.
Hail Satan.
Cool. That's a secular society for you right there.
That's a secular society there for you, everybody. That's what they do. And I've talked about this before. I've talked about this exact thing when I've had videos on in radio shows about Satanism. Satanism is not about, or at least Satanism in the 21st century. You don't have a large amount of people that are praying to Satan and telling and performing satanic rituals, blood sacrifice rituals. You don't have that. No, what Satanism is about in the 21st century is secularism, to push a society that is anti-religion. He's not saying "Hail Satan," this boyfriend of a McLean County board member. He's not saying "Hail Satan" because he wants to perform a blood sacrifice. He's saying "Hail Satan" because he wants to show and get his woke points for hating those that are religious. And this is why right now you can see in studio, I am wearing my shirt and my cross that says "Jesus is King," because I won't succumb to that. And we shouldn't let society succumb to people that they hate. This is why I played this segment on YouTube earlier. But the segment from this, I start off the entire video with it. I'll play it on the radio right now because I think it's important. I start off this video with asking, "How's everybody doing?" And this is the response I get.
How is everybody doing today?
Boo. How's everybody doing? Boo. That's what they say. That's what they say. Because they're unhappy people. These people are just simply like they live a life that is just so full of hate, which is ironic because these are the people that are, "Oh man, we need diversity, equity, and inclusion. We need all this inclusion. You're a hateful guy, Kev, because you want to hate women for what they do with their bodies." No, I'm a pretty happy guy. Sometimes I'm a pretty happy guy. I can be. What makes me mad though is these people that preach secularism, which is really the new Satanism, because Satan loves people that drift away from God. And two, you can't even have like a civil conversation. You're out there protesting and you're having an issue telling me what you're protesting. It's all I wanted to do. All I wanted to do was go out there and ask people, "What are you here protesting?" And maybe prod a little bit into more about what they believe. But they want to push me aside and make it so that I can't be involved in the conversation. Because if I'm involved in the conversation, I'll prove them wrong. And we're going to talk more about that in the next hour, everybody, with my good buddy, Josh Bender. And we will be right back with more Speechless on Cities 92.9, the news and talk of Bloomington Normal. Awesome, guys. Okay, I'm going to bring Josh on now. Josh, we still got a few more minutes. Give me 1 second so that I can hear you. Okay, I should be able to hear you now.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
Perfect.
Like that old Verizon commercial, right? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, let me go see what you've gotten done in the document because I haven't taken a look at that in a little bit.
I kept some notes on the timestamps you asked me to grab.
Okay.
I didn't put them in there. I have them, but I can put them in there if you want me to.
Please put them in there for me.
Yeah, they're not all 100% accurate, but they're there.
Mm-hmm. That's fine. As long as they're close enough.
So there's some I got really accurate with. Someone was like, this is the closest I can get.
Does this link, I never even got a chance to look at this link. Is it the full video?
It links to a
I see 2 videos here, and that's why I'm trying to figure out which one is which.
both of them are good. There's like a 10-second cutout where the camera died.
Oh, I see the full 40 minutes here. Yeah, I see it. I see the one that's got full 40 minutes, like 40 something, 40 minutes and 41 minutes almost. Everybody, feel free to. Here's actually one thing I forgot I wanted to say. I really do want to say this is, so when it came to making that, so for those of you that saw it, the full video of me talking with the protesters, a lot went into that, and it's very, very stressful. So please, if you guys can, share that video everywhere that you can. And also big thanks to my girlfriend, Carly, because she was the filmographer in that. And even during that, that Mr. Garcia that I talked about, he said, he asked her and said, he said that he asked if she was part of the Proud Boys. And she was so frightened. She was not.
Yes. Those Proud Boys that those women Proud Boys. It's just like the black Nazis or the Jewish Nazis, like Ben Shapiro. I love that. Yeah,
exactly. And so it was just so crazy to me. But thank you for watching it. If you guys have, please share it if you can, so people can just see how these people react to somebody who disagrees with them, even like coming near them. They can't even handle me coming near them because people felt uncomfortable that I wasn't there with a press badge or anything. I guarantee you, if I had put the press badge on, which I wasn't going to do because I'm not going to just succumb to whatever their demands are. First off, second off, I did have a press badge on me, by the way. I totally lied to them. I had a press badge on me. And I hope that they hear me say that because that's hilarious. And because I didn't need one. I was on a public space, just like they were.
Exactly.
Should I ask for their permits to be out there? No. Idiocy. But first off,
no, you should have. You should have. You should have asked. Yeah.
No, because it's a right. Just as much as they have a right to be out there, I have a right to be out there. I didn't need a permit. I didn't need a press badge. They shouldn't really, at least in the area that they were, if they started running out into the streets, obviously they should have had something else, but everything like that. But I also want to be clear too. I borrowed equipment for that. The mics that I had were borrowed equipment. Those mics are very expensive. And the guy that lets me borrow them, Paul Garcia, who sponsors this show, very kind guy, but that's out of my sponsorship deal with him. That was just out of the kindness of his heart that he let me borrow those. And so if anybody would like to make sure that I can keep making videos like that, it'd be really appreciated. I've got the ticker at the bottom that does have my, that has my Venmo and my Cash App on it, because I can't currently, with the amount of subscribers and watch hours I have, I can't currently fully monetize my YouTube channel. So if you want to make sure I can keep making videos like that, I really would appreciate even the smallest amount, Venmo and Cash App, so that I can do that kind of stuff and get the mics that would be required to keep doing that. And also get a camera person that, not that Carly did a great job, but a consistent camera person that I could maybe give a few bucks to when they help me out with stuff like that. So please, if you guys can, consider helping out the show in that way. Thank you. Let's look at even when you try to be polite and present them with facts, they just get mad. Exactly. And I didn't even try to present them with any facts. I wasn't really totally out there to debate them. Like I said, I was out there just to get their perspective. Because it's like what I was kind of trying to do is similar to like what Libs of TikTok does, It's like I don't even need to give my opinion in the moment. I'm just going to post what they say because it speaks for itself. I'm a firm believer in the First Amendment and what we're obviously allowed to say within the First Amendment, everything barring direct threats to violence or anything like that. Or just blanket lies in the media. I mean, there's a few different restrictions of the First Amendment, but basically, barring direct threats, I think that we should be allowed to say whatever we want, because if we are able to get all of the ideas out there in the marketplace of ideas, then the good ones will overcome the bad ones. Ultimately, I believe that.
Yeah.
It's a capitalistic idea on free speech. These people don't want that. They don't, because if one, their ideas are actually put out there, they will lose, and they know it. Deep down, they know it. And two, they don't want their ideas challenged because their ideas provide them this little bubble, a cushy little bubble of a safe space.
Well, I mean, that's why they freaked out so much when Elon Musk bought Twitter and just said, "Hey, guess what? You can say whatever you want on here as long as it's not, like you said, an actual restriction to free speech." And the legacy media flipped because they're like, "Wait, you're saying you could say anything?" Yeah, I am. It's almost like that's what the First Amendment's supposed to be, is that you can say crazy things and we can all agree they're crazy, but you still have the right to say them.
Exactly. Wanted to make that for you. So you can.
Oh, thank you.
Title.
I appreciate it. I love how that is my title.
High school history teacher. That's what you are.
That's not wrong. That is not wrong.
What would you want me to rather? I could say a lot worse. So that's.
No, I know you could. No, you're right. You could. No, I mean, no, it's an apt description. You know, you got
yep.
3.5 days left.
For everybody who's watching, Josh used to host this show with me. He also used to host a podcast with me. Been like my best friend in college. So I bring him on because we can go back and forth pretty well. And he, like I said, he's a high school history teacher, so he's got some knowledge on some things. So,
I like to think
he can be kind of smart.
My students believe me, so I mean, like, take that as you will.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, we're coming back here.
All right.
Hey, Bloomington Normal, and welcome back to Speechless on Cities 92.9, the news and talk of Bloomington Normal. I'm your host, Kev. Thank you so much for tuning in on this beautiful Mother's Day. It is Mother's Day. I heard there was supposed to maybe be some rain out there at one point. I walked to work earlier, and it was nice enough. I'll admit, it was a pretty nice day out to walk to work. But I really liked it, and my mom's out of state, but I want to say to her, happiest of Mother's Day to you, Mom. If you're tuning in right now, I doubt she is. She's probably doing things that are a lot more fun than listening to me. But I'm happy that you guys think it's fun. Those on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Twitch, and even on the radio or your app. Thank you guys so much for tuning into Speechless. I'm your host, like I said, Kev Phares, and we got so much more to cover on the show. In the first hour, I covered the ideas of Mother's Day and how it's being attacked by the left by calling mothers birthing people. I also talked about how certain companies are letting you opt out of Mother's Day, skip through the entire day entirely. And so those are interesting. You can go back and watch those. Even my recap of the protests at the Ron DeSantis event in Tazewell, in Peoria County. It's the Tazewell Peoria County GOP dinner. I recapped all of my protest footage of that, or some of it. Go watch that video. You can check that out on my YouTube, Speechless with Kev Phares. Go see all that stuff. But in the meantime, I got a guest on for this next hour. My good friend used to host this show with me, host a podcast with me back in the day. My good friend, Josh Bender. How you doing, Josh?
I'm doing good, buddy. How are you?
I'm doing amazing. And so like I wished a happy Mother's Day to Sharon, my mother, I figured you might also want to discuss your own mother, Gina.
Yes. Happy Mother's Day, Mom. I think you're listening right now. I sent it to you, said you could, but happy Mother's Day. Similar to Kev, I'm out of state. Well, I'm out of state. She's back home, so I can't see her, but I'll be calling her later. But yes, happy Mother's Day, Mom. I love you. Hope you have a great day. Don't let Dad and Jada drive you too crazy.
Absolutely. Happy Mother's Day, Gina. She's awesome. She's like a second mother to me. I love her. So I love you, Gina. But we got a lot of things to talk about, Josh, and thank God. And I'm curious about maybe what you think. I know you were watching a little bit about some of the things that I was talking about when it came to Mother's Day. Any extra thoughts, anything you think you can add when it comes to birthing people or opt out Mother's Day?
Yeah. I mean, every year Ben Shapiro posts the same joke about, happy legal parent of unspecified genders day, because he always says, he said, I'm going to keep posting the same joke until they can explain what the difference between a mom and a dad is. Because they never can. Mm-hmm. And so I just think that's always funny. I think I said the same thing to my mom, and she said, never call me that. And so I was just like, I don't know. I mean, it's crazy to me, the fact that we're so in such a crazy culture that we can't even say happy Mother's Day and people won't get offended. It's like, yeah, you have a mom. At some point you have a mom. You need to accept that.
Absolutely. But I know there's a lot of other things we want to cover today too. One of which is, so it was graduation weekend at Illinois State University, our university that we both attended. And so I want to talk a little bit about this story from a historical standpoint from you, and then I'll bring in kind of a little bit of the political and social stuff as well. But so I go to Illinois State University. Josh attended Illinois State University. And in an article according to Campus Reform, Illinois State University set to hold segregated graduation ceremonies. Illinois State University is set to hold segregated identity-based graduation ceremonies for the class of 2023. So this happened over the weekend. The first of these, called the, quote, Lavender graduation, will honor LGBTQIA plus students. Then it goes on to list. The reason why I got confused is because then it goes lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, intersex, and ace-identified graduates. And so the ceremonies will be hosted by registered student organizations in collaboration with the school's multicultural center over the course of the month. If you're listening on the radio right now, this is very, very local to us. This is ISU. the school, and these, according to the school, these ceremonies provide, quote, opportunities for our underrepresented students to celebrate their success and graduation in a unique way. The first of these, called the Lavender Graduation, which happened on April 22nd, so a little over a week ago, according to a press release, honored the LGBTQIA people. Following this, though, the school planned to hold a Nuestros Logros, a ceremony which will recognize Latino, Latina, Latinx,
Yeah.
Latinx graduates. And then following this is the MAPS. And no, that's not minor attracted persons like we've talked about before. No, this one's about Middle Eastern, Asian Pacific Islander, and Southeast Asian graduates. The first ceremony, or the final ceremony, was Umoja, which is the Black graduation celebration, will honor students of African descent and from African diaspora on May 11th. Campus Reform previously reported on dozens of schools hosting similar ceremonies. Among them was ISU, which defended the ceremonies in 2022, saying, quote, it wants to make sure all students are recognized and acknowledged for their contributions to the university, which is crazy to me. So the university said, and I want to get your take on this, Josh, but it's crazy to me that they say that this is for wanting to make sure all students are recognized and acknowledged for their contributions to the university. But where is my Irish Americans graduation ceremony?
Where's my Italian American?
Yep. Or even just like if they want to bring it all down to just like skin color, where's the white American?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Why not?
I love, because they just made a post. ISU made a post on their Instagram not long ago talking about this, and one of the comments it's even, you can see, it says, great pictures. I see you mentioned the LGBTQIA plus celebration in the caption, but I don't see any pictures. Why aren't there any pictures? And it's like, so they can't even, they're having these separate graduation ceremonies, and then they still can't keep people happy because they're not posting all the pictures. And it's like, this is the game that you put yourself in, is you can never satisfy everyone enough. Yeah. And they reap what they sow. I don't blame them. And they said, like, oh, there's more in our picture and we're going to post more and it'll include some. It's like, okay, so you have these separate ones and then you don't post the pictures. I didn't even get a proper graduation when I graduated because it was still in the middle of COVID. So I didn't actually get to do the stage walking. I did a private stage walking. I didn't go to my commencement because it was just go listen to a speech and leave. I don't care. I didn't get a proper stage walking. And so you're going to sit here and say, there's these separate ones. I didn't even get a proper one. And I feel kind of robbed in a weird way.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, that's not fair.
Yeah, I pulled up this post. This year's cultural graduation recognition event celebrated all these different identity groups. And if you're on YouTube or Facebook, you can see some of these pictures. It's just all about posting. That's really what I think it is about. It's all about virtue signaling. It's not actually, I don't even think it's about actually celebrating these students. It's about virtue signaling. Mm-hmm. Because there's a sense of woke capital that is provided to the university for doing this, for pushing the tokenism. That's really what it is too. I can't believe that the left actually wants this kind of stuff, because this seems so much like tokenism, because the same people that are begging for these kind of graduation ceremonies, I can tell you as a student on this campus, I hear it. The same students that are begging for these kind of graduation ceremonies are also the same students that say that we don't have enough representation and that there's not enough people of color at ISU. There's not enough people of color, like professors and stuff. And they just need everything. Like you said, they'll never be actually satisfied with it.
Right. Well, and if you think about it, there was a time where Black people couldn't go to college. Women couldn't go to college. I get it. So should we celebrate the fact that everyone can go to college now? Absolutely. I think that's a great thing. That's a great thing that we've fixed that as a country and we've really come to that. But then just say, okay, we're now integrated, to go back to, well, that's still not good enough. You need to separate. Why shouldn't you want to celebrate with everyone together in your major or in your school, and to be like, look, we are all one Redbird. They say Redbird family. We're one Redbird family. Then there's no separation. If you're in a club and your club wants to host a tiny, hey, we're going to host a graduation ceremony for this group. Okay, that's fine. Your club can do that. I've seen like fraternities do that. Like, hey, we're going to celebrate our graduating for our graduating, members. That's awesome. I think it's actually really cool. And I would say that's great. But the fact that it's like university sponsored and that they're really pushing it, it's kind of ridiculous. And again, it goes back to, weren't we fighting for integration? Now we're saying, okay, but we're going to segregate because we want to. Well, yeah, you're going backwards.
Absolutely. It's bringing us, I just think it's crazy that we live in 2023 and we still have this segregation. We said because okay, so the thing that's even more crazy to me is that we have this is a public institution, right? Like I can kind of understand it from private institutions, but this is taxpayer money. This is a taxpayer funded segregation.
Right.
That's like I feel like somebody should bring a lawsuit forward. I feel like somebody should bring a lawsuit based on the 13th, 14th, and 15th amendments that you're not allowed to treat a race differently, or the equal rights amendment, or the equal rights amendments, or different equal rights laws that we have.
Exactly. Right? I mean, those laws passed to make sure that everyone could be together, and that was the whole point. Was separate but equal was not equal. That was the whole argument with Brown versus Board of Education. Was they said separate but equal is not equal. We cannot do that. So if that was the argument, let's stick to that. I mean, let's stick to the woods of Thurgood Marshall. He was one of the best lawyers in that case, one of the best justices we've ever had. Let's stick to that and say, hey, separate but equal is not equal. So we are either all together or we're not. That's what it comes down to.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, we have other things we want to cover on the show today, and we got a few more minutes in this segment. So let's start off a little bit. There was to switch gears, there was an event this last weekend that I went to, and I covered, like I said earlier in the show, I covered a bit of my video with the protesters, the Tazewell County and Peoria County GOP dinner that featured Ron DeSantis. Darren LaHood, our congressman in that area, invited Ron DeSantis, governor of Florida, to the dinner. And JB Pritzker, I'm going to start off with this. JB Pritzker had fun things to say every time that the governor of Florida comes to Illinois. JB Pritzker has a lot to say. And so here is that statement. I'm putting it up on the screen right now. Ron DeSantis, this is what JB Pritzker said. Ron DeSantis swears that he is fighting to protect people's freedoms, but he has no problem taking away their reproductive rights, attacking schools and libraries to limit what parents and teachers want for their students, disregarding the humanity of LGBTQ people, and failing to protect people of color, seeking to live free from discrimination. DeSantis has made a career of punching down and othering anyone who doesn't subscribe to his petty tyranny. Kind of sound. I mean, I feel like you could put Pritzker at the beginning of that too. Pritzker has made a career of punching down, but I digress. Let's keep going, which makes him a natural fit for the GOP's Lincoln Day dinner. Too bad they could only get a would-be candidate who is running a distant second for the GOP nomination. Make no mistake, his brand of politics flies in the face of everything the 16th president taught us about leadership. In Illinois, we reject the cruelty he espouses and stand firmly against his hateful agenda. That's Governor Pritzker for you, everybody. And in fact, DeSantis even actually went back and I believe made a comment against this. But first off, Josh, what do you think of Pritzker's statement that he has against
I mean, I find it funny he's talking about, he's running a second rate. He's not running a not even nomination. Wasn't Pritzker going to run for president, but then back down because Joe Biden said he was going to? I mean, the rumor was he was going to run. He didn't when Darren Bailey said, I will sign right here that I'll finish my term. Will you? He wouldn't do that, meaning he was going to run. But then Daddy Democrat Party said, you can't do that, buddy. We need you. We need Joe Biden in office because he's our puppet. And he said, all right, I'll back down. And, the monstrous man that he is, monstrous in terms of size, because, he's the size of a planet, roughly. I think when they're like, that's no moon, that's the Death Star. Like, we just put Pritzker up, like he's just that big. But I digress. I obviously don't like Pritzker here, but I think that's hilarious that he's sitting there trying to slam DeSantis and say, the 16th president would be ashamed. Dude, you are a Democrat. You were the thing that he fought a war against. Was the Democrat Party. You represent that party. Are you kidding me? He would hate you.
Absolutely.
Like everything you stand for.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, everybody, we do have to take a quick break here, and we're going to get more into everything that's going on with the Ron DeSantis event. And then we're going to talk maybe a little bit about the Trump CNN town hall. We got a few more segments here, and I think we might go a little bit longer on YouTube as well afterwards. So everybody, make sure you go check out Josh and I. You can see us live, myself in studio, Josh in his apartment all the way in Las Vegas, Las Vegas, Nevada. And we're covering all these things, we're going to even talk about the 2024 presidential election. A lot of different ideas. You can also feel free to text or call in at 309-451-9299. If you have any interest in talking about what we're talking about with us, feel free to text or call in at 309-451-9299 is that number. Thank you guys so much. And we will be right back with more Speechless on Cities 92.9, the news and talk of Bloomington Normal.
Oh, my laptop screaming, man.
Okay, I am off the radio now. I'm trying to find what I really want to find, though, is this video of DeSantis going back. I know he talks about Pritzker.
Yeah, he talks about Pritzker's family going to Florida.
You got to hear it. You got to listen for it. I don't know if you can even hear it now. I can. But...
No, I can't.
I want to find this. Josh, we got to find this so we can play it for the radio.
Was it in the speech?
Yes, I know for a fact he talked about Pritzker.
Okay, the thing I heard him say was talking about how his family, he slammed DeSantis, and then he sent his family there during.
I know there was that one. He had two that he went after.
That was the only one I heard.
No, there was two because I remember counting them when I was in it. I just don't remember what time it was. I just think Pritzker's crazy. Let's look at some of these comments here, everybody. Inclusive, it would have been if they're all inclusive. It would just be called a graduation ceremony. Absolutely, Jim.
Yeah.
I have 2 viewers on Twitch right now. Thank you for the people on Twitch. I don't even know how Twitch works. I just logged in. And I really don't know. I don't get Twitch. Twitch doesn't make sense to me. But thank you for viewing on Twitch. If you are viewing on Twitch or anywhere else, but mainly for this is also especially for the people on Twitch, definitely email me and let me know how Twitch works. Right there, speechlesskp@gmail. If you guys have any tips, stories, questions, ideas for the shows, anything like that, email that right there and let me know. But for the people on Twitch, you want to help me out and let me know on how I can be better on Twitch and maximize my viewership there, I'd love for your help because I have no idea how to do that. Let's see. Yeah, I wish I had that whole.
I also set the things I actually wanted to bring with me today. They're next to me.
That's good. What did you want to bring? You can show some of it right now.
Yeah. So I had my book, obviously, my DeSantis book. But here in Nevada, they've been sending out these, so they're back down. They've been sending out some mailers. I have 3 of them. They weren't sent to me. They were sent to another teacher who knows I'm a huge DeSantis fan. He's a DeSantis guy too, but he's been giving them to me so I can look through them. And he figured I might use them for something. So these have been being sent out a lot more frequently, which is pretty cool.
Awesome. I'm trying to find DeSantis team. The Florida governor jabbed Illinois for losing residents. He criticized Pritzker for allowing some members of his family to stay in their Florida. Yep. DeSantis attacked President Joe Biden for causing more damage. And I thought there was another one, but I'm just reading his stuff.
Yeah, I didn't think so because I just watched the whole speech again. Very similar to the one I listened to, which is cool.
Yep. Okay, we'll play some of that for everybody who's in here still. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. For those that are tuning in, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. I really appreciate it, especially if you guys would be interested in sharing my other video too, the one of all the protesters, because that one took a lot of work and I really like it and I want a lot of people to see it because I think it's really good. I hope you guys think it's good too. But we're gonna keep going with more of this coming back now. And we are back with Speechless on Cities 92.9, the news and talk of Bloomington Normal. Thank you so much for tuning in on this beautiful Mother's Day. Wish your mother a happy Mother's Day. Give her a hug, give her a kiss, say thank you. And if God forbid she's not here with us today, say a prayer, as I'll be saying a prayer for all those moms too. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We have a lot we're covering here, and I'm here with my former show host, current teacher in Nevada, high school history teacher, Josh Bender, my good friend.
Yes,
Josh, do you have anything to say to the people?
Hello. Happy Mother's Day, everyone. Thanks for listening in.
Absolutely. Well, we have a lot to say about this event that happened in Peoria on Friday evening, the Tazewell County, Peoria County joint Lincoln Day dinner, in which they brought Ron DeSantis to the area. And like I said previously, Ron DeSantis drew the ire of many of many protesters, for which I have a YouTube video of that online, and I recommend everybody go check it out. Speechless with Kev Ferris on YouTube. You can go see that video, or you can go to our Facebook page, City's Facebook page, and there's the link on there somewhere for that. I did have a chance, so we're gonna recap a little bit of this speech here with Josh first, and then I also have a video of Representative Don Tracy talking, or not, kind of representative. He is the chairman of the Illinois GOP. Talking about the event, but let's get to the speech. Josh, there was a few points in the speech that you really wanted to point out. You want me to go in order of the ones that you sent me, or
you don't have to. I mean, so I put some timestamps in of things that I thought were good, things I thought that were important to touch on, and just ways that he kind of the way you spoke about certain things. I think the first one was 4 minutes in. He talked about how there was not a single Democrat elected in like a lot of these state offices, and we haven't seen that since the Civil War.
Yeah.
Historical context. Do you know why there was no Democrats in office around that time?
Because they're part of the South.
Well, yes, but this is after the Civil War,
Gotcha.
military reconstruction. The Democrats stepped in and made the South so bad with their segregation that the radical Republicans and Republican Congress put the South under military rule.
Jeez.
And kicked out all Democrats, and that's why there was no Democrats in office.
That's crazy. Well, there's one that I really wanted to get to too, and so I'm gonna put it on the screen here now, but also on the radio. And sorry for anybody, I was trying to find the right point, and so if anybody on the radio heard a little bit of the speech early, that was a technical difficulty, but don't worry, we got it all fixed up here now. Here is a part about diversity, equity, and inclusion in terms of education. I believe that the governor hit on at his speech on Friday.
On the campus through the administrative apparatus of the university. I think the way DEI is actually practiced, it's better termed discrimination, exclusion, and indoctrination, and that is wrong, and we should not be funding that with our tax dollars. But what motivates things like injecting CRT in K-12 or gender ideology or some of the stuff with DEI is what I call the woke mind virus. And this is an ideological predisposition that is really a form of cultural Marxism. It's an attack on merit, and at the end of the day, it is a war on the truth. Don't tell me that babies are born racist. Don't tell me men can get pregnant. That is not true, and we are not going to indulge in that. And because the woke represents a war on truth, we have no choice but to wage a war on woke. And that is what we're doing in Florida.
Wage a war on woke. I really liked that part of the speech. And I think that, and a lot of times I hear, and this is and I have a lot of conversations with people because I personally have come out and said multiple times that I'm more on the DeSantis train for 2024 than I am on the Trump train. And I think, and this is, I oftentimes hear people say they don't trust DeSantis, or that they think that he's a rhino because maybe Trump has said that. But this kind of rhetoric that he's using does not give off that sentiment. What do you think, Josh?
Yeah, I mean, I'll be the first to admit I am fully on the Ron DeSantis train. I'm wearing my big DeSantis energy sweatshirt. I have numerous Ron DeSantis things. I think Ron DeSantis is in fact more conservative than Donald Trump is, and that's my opinion. That you don't.
Why do you think that, Josh?
Because he actually has a record of conservatism that Trump does not have.
In what way?
So let's talk about the social stuff. Actually, going after things like the gender ideology in school and the idea of, allowing kids to transition without parents knowing. That's the big thing too. He fought that. He has constantly stepped in to protect things like gun rights in ways that Donald Trump has not. He has stepped in to with all these parental rights in schools. Schools are a huge one, obviously. Teacher parental rights, stepping in saying, hey, look, there's these problems. These books are an issue. We should pull them. Parents have the right to do that. I don't think Trump has been able to do that in a way. He was great at working on the economy. I will 100% give Trump the economy. That was his thing, and I fully respect that. Social-wise, though, he wasn't great.
I totally understand where you're coming from. We do have to take a quick break on the radio, and then we will be back. But for everybody listening in on the radio, feel free to go check this out. This whole conversation and everything is on Facebook. on Cities 92.9. You'd also go to YouTube, Speechless with Kev Phares. Check it out there. Our Twitter, our Cities 92.9 Twitter, or I'm even apparently on Twitch, and 2 people know about it. Or no, now there's only 1, but I had 2 people watching on Twitch at one point, and I really appreciate those that do. Everybody, we will be back with more Speechless soon with myself, Kev, and Josh Bender, my former show host, current high school history teacher in Las Vegas, or right outside of Las Vegas, Nevada. But we will be back. And if you got any questions or comments in the meantime, feel free to text or call in at 309-451-9299. And during the break, if you got the time and you got the chance, please text your mom, give her a hug, give her a high five, anything to let her know that you're thankful for what she did to you. Happy Mother's Day, everybody. And we will be right back. Okay, we are now on break, everybody. There's Pam asked if DeSantis had ties to the Bush family. Do you have any answer to that? I don't know.
Yes, but so does Donald Trump. Donald Trump also has ties to the Clintons. They were at, I believe the Clintons were at his wedding, or vice versa. So he knows everyone. At one point, Trump knew Epstein. Doesn't mean that he still does. Obviously, he didn't. For a while, he did, and then he said no, he's a bad guy, and kicked him out of Mar-a-Lago. We know the story. But just looking at ties doesn't mean anything to me. I mean, you're a politician, you have to know people. The Bushes are a big family in Florida.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Jeb was a former governor. Of course he knows them. That's no shock. I mean, but it's the same as saying that Trump has ties to the Obamas or the Clintons. Maybe they knew each other. It doesn't mean they were like close friends. They still are hanging out every day.
Mm-hmm. Nope, I understand what you're saying. I'm looking for some of the other things. So we have more on that. I also wanted to talk about, because we got a half hour left. So I'm going to we're kind of going to wrap up the DeSantis speech a little bit. I'm going to play, I think, the last, like how he ended it.
Yeah, I love his ending to his speech. He said the same thing here in Nevada, and it was just, you felt the energy in the room really shift with that. And I like that ending.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I'm going to make sure I have it all right here.
Yeah, I think I marked it. Yeah, 36:10 is when I said it kind of starts.
Yeah, I don't want to play 2 whole minutes now.
Okay, if you want to go a little later, then to go about a minute. I just like that part because that's when he's talking about how Arlington is, the true monument to this country.
He says, in 1 sec. Okay, I have a clip that I think will be good now. That'll bring us right to the end of that. I'm going to play Don Tracy's video too. Don Tracy, who is the chairman of the Illinois GOP.
Yeah.
I'm going to play my video that I have with him. And then we'll get into the Trump CNN stuff a little bit. And then Trump versus DeSantis.
Yeah, we do that.
You have a clock going in the background there?
No, that's my fan. It's hot in here because it's like 90 degrees today.
I got you.
And so I have to keep some airflow, even though my air is on, just something to keep the thing on. Actually, I'll probably turn it down real quick. Oh.
Okay. Everybody, if you're still sticking with us right now, thank you so much. We will be back soon with more Speechless. We're on a break right now on the radio. In the meantime, feel free to text or call in at 309-451-9299. Especially, here's one thing we wanted to address, actually, a direct question to anybody out there. If you feel, I've heard this a lot. I've heard people that don't trust DeSantis. I've heard people that think that he's a rhino, anything like that. If you are one of those people, we want to talk to you. I want to know exactly why you think that. And so call in. And we're gonna kind of try to have a good conversation. 309-451-9299. This next segment is for you. If you're that kind of person, we definitely want to talk to you about that and see what you have to say. So thank you guys so much. And we will be right back. You can call in right now and I can put you on hold until we get back with the segment. Whatever, 309-451-9299 is that number. Let's see what you got.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, especially again, me being more. I mean, I helped with the Trump campaign in 2020. Now I'm, I don't want to say anti-Trump, but I'm not on the Trump train at all. Definitely more on the DeSantis train. I'd be interested to see why and what the holdup might be.
Absolutely. I don't see the phone lighting up anybody, so. But we will be back soon. I can't find, there's very few videos. Here we go. We're coming back of the Trump town hall. I'm trying to find more and more.
I know.
It's like they're censoring it. Okay, let's come back. And we are back with Speechless on Cities 92.9, the news and talk of Bloomington Normal. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, whether that's on your radio, on your app, or on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, or Twitter. Yep, we're everywhere now. We are everywhere now. And I'm even able to get the video streaming, not just audio, but video calling of many different people. This week, I have my good friend, former show host, current high school history teacher, Josh Bender, on the line with me. Josh, how you doing?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm doing good. Let me say that one more time. I didn't have you in program.
Oh, so I said I'm good, man. How are you?
Awesome. There we go. Now I got you. We're fielding questions from everybody because we're talking about DeSantis. We're talking about his appearance in Peoria County. We're also going to be talking a little bit about the Trump town hall and kind of the dichotomy between these two candidates for president. Obviously, DeSantis is yet to announce, seeming like he's going to. I see one question in the comment section. I want to get to that, Jim, but I do want to wrap up a little bit about DeSantis's appearance in Peoria by playing first this final clip. This is how DeSantis ended his speech. So let me pull up that. I'm trying to make sure I can share my screen and everything. WGN. Here we go. So here is this final clip of DeSantis in Peoria. The last thing he had to say.
So I say to you this: decline is a choice, success is attainable, and freedom is worth fighting for. I'm proud of what we've done in Florida, but I can tell you this: I have only begun to fight. Thank you all. God bless you.
I have only begun to fight. Definitely seems very reminiscent of potentially being a presidential candidate. It seems like a lot of people think it's a done deal. I do know I've had conversations with David Paul Blumenshine, another host on Cities 92.9, airs right before myself. I've had conversations with him where he does not think DeSantis is going to win. He's one of the only few people, or isn't going to run. DPB doesn't even think DeSantis is going to run. I think he's wrong, frankly. But I had interesting conversations soon after the speech with the chairman of the Illinois Republican Party, Don Tracy, where I pressed him a little bit more about what he thinks about DeSantis and his potential presidential run. I want to play that clip right here. Oop, I accidentally just closed out of it. Let's get into it here. Here is that clip.
Back to Speechless on
It's about to play.
Cities 92.9. I'm here with chairman of the Illinois Republican Party. I'm used to saying McLean County because we're out of Bloomington, but chairman of the Illinois Republican Party at the Lincoln Day dinner in Peoria County, where Ron DeSantis was just featured. Don, you're up on stage. I assume you probably had a chance to meet Ron.
I did. I met him a couple times, and I think he's a strong contender for whatever he's going to do.
I know it seems to be the unspoken knowledge of every Republican in the world that he's likely going to be announcing for president.
Well, we know he can't run for governor again because he's term limited.
He is term limited in that respect, and they recently did repeal the resign to run law in Florida. Looking like he's possibly going to run. Based on his statements here tonight, what do you think? What do you think about the possibility of him running for president?
You know, I think it's highly likely. He sure sounded like a guy running for president, a presidential contender, and he kind of reminded me of a young Ronald Reagan. You know, I like what I heard. I mean, he's got the right messaging, and you know, as a governor, he's had to deal with all these really difficult issues.
Absolutely.
And you know, a lot of us been talking about all the problems with society today and all what the left is doing to us in the march towards socialism, but he's doing something about it. So
absolutely,
you know, we're neutral in the race, but I hope we have a really good, strong primary race, and I think we have all the great contenders for the Republican nomination come to Illinois, just like Ron DeSantis did tonight. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Don.
Awesome. So that was my interview with Don Tracy of the Illinois GOP, talking to him right after DeSantis spoke. I know Don Tracy is kind of a controversial figure, but it says kind of a lot that even the chairman of the Illinois GOP, whether you like him or not, has quite positive things to say about not only DeSantis, but also just about the idea of our Republican primary. We seem very hopeful on what could happen in the future. And this leads into the question, especially as Trump had his CNN town hall that really took the nation by storm and was quite interesting. Many are saying that Trump won the town hall against CNN. And I think that's very interesting. And there's a lot of different questions surrounding this. And so we want to be able to field them. Josh and I, to be 100% transparent, Josh and I are both a bit more of DeSantis supporters in terms of 2024. However, I always want to be able to look at this from any possible lens. So bring to me any possible argument. Let's have the conversation. 309-451-9299 or comment your questions on YouTube, Facebook, wherever you are. 309-451-9299 is that number. And we got a question right here from Jim. Jim asked, this is mainly for Josh. What's it like being a high school teacher in 2023? Do you know? Oh, I'm sorry. I thought it might have to do a little bit more with DeSantis and everything. So we're going to get to that question at some point, I swear. But I do want to talk a little bit more about Trump v. DeSantis in 2023 and Trump's town hall. First, I know you had a lot to say, Josh, about Trump's appearance on CNN. What were your thoughts?
Yeah. So at first I was kind of in the field of it. It wasn't a huge win for Trump. But after kind of rewatching it, and I listened to Shapiro's analysis, and he kind of gave me an interest, Ben Shapiro's analysis, and he gave me an interesting perspective. I think it was a win for Trump. I think it was a win for CNN, and I think it was a loss for any Republican voter, to be quite frank. I think CNN and Trump. Well, I think CNN and Trump both got what they wanted out of it. Trump was able to go up and show that he was still this fighter. He was still this, you're a disgusting person. You're despicable. Go and slam them and attack them. CNN got the ratings that they haven't had in years since Trump's been out of office. So they were very excited for that. But for any Republican who was trying to hopefully hear about issues they truly cared about, there was no real chance to. They focused on things like January 6th. Was it Jeannie Carroll? 2020 election things Eugene Carroll, just things that people were like, we don't care much about this. We want to hear, what is your tax policy going to be like? What's your immigration policy going to be like? What's this? We didn't get to hear that. And so this was a kind of a loss for that. And I think that was the most disappointing thing, because they said, oh, it's a Republican town hall. And it really wasn't. It was a Democrat town hall with Republicans and who were there.
Yeah, and you're right. I think they really did focus a lot on those kinds of issues. I'm trying to find it right now. Maybe I'll be able to find it, if not now, but at least by the last segment. But there was videos of they took like a small group of people afterwards. That here it is. I think I found one of them. Yes, I found this video. I'm gonna make sure I put it on the screen for everybody to see as well. But it's a video of a small group of people that they took after the entire town hall was over, which I believe they even cut a half hour short, right?
It was about, well, it was only a couple minutes short, but they were still.
But they cut it short.
They did cut it short, yeah.
And here's the video. This is of audience members after the town hall responding to questions regarding the town hall. I'm going to play a little bit of it. I do want to say before this video starts before it starts actually on the video too, they asked about, why do you think like Trump talk so much about 2020? Don't you want to hear about 2024? And one of the audience members did say, well, it's because you're asking about 2020. Because like Josh said, they were asking a Democrat town hall questions to a Republican candidate, and they're trying to push a narrative that Trump frankly wouldn't allow to happen. So let's watch a little bit about how people perceived this town hall.
First, Mike McLaughlin, he's 21. He is undeclared, which is what you do in New Hampshire if you want to be independent. But he voted for Trump in 2020. Mike, same thing to you. What do you feel about continuing to talk about those mistruths from 2020?
Personally, I'm getting tired of hearing about it. I'm very much more so interested in the problems that we face now, and I would prefer to hear him discuss the present issues more so than going to the past.
65-year-old Stephen Farnsworth, Republican, voted for Trump twice. Your opinion about that?
Well, I think that he's committed to it. That's what he feels. That's what he thinks.
Well, do you think he thinks that, or do you think he just keeps saying it to try to will it for people like you to believe it?
I think he actually thinks it.
You do?
No, he may.
Even though he keeps losing in the courts over and over again.
He does say what's on his mind.
Okay.
That's what a lot of people like about him. And so then it keeps going with all these different people, and all these people basically say that they don't want to hear about 2020 and lose it and what happened in 2020 anymore. But again, it was CNN who they pushed all the narratives around this. They pushed him. They wanted him to come on and talk about 2020 and how the election was rigged. They wanted him to come on and talk about E. Jean Carroll and everything, because for them, it boosted their ratings and it pushed the narrative that they wanted to push. However, it also exposed a very large base of people to a difference of opinion. And something that was differing from what CNN would usually play, you know? What do you think, Josh?
Yeah, I agree. I think that second guy there, he was right. You know, Trump's committed to this. He fully believes it. And, I think that's been proven time and time again. He truly believes he won. Now, if that's the case, okay. I mean, that's your belief. I would argue that he was wrong, but that's his belief. And that's, and that's good that people are seeing, no, he actually does believe this. This is his thing, because that will help people weigh, do I vote for him or not? Do I vote for him because he is stuck on this, or because he believes this, or do I not vote for him because he believes this? I think overall, CNN really helped get that out there more and more in a deeper way, that he genuinely does believe this, even though, yes, he is losing in court a lot and things like that. Some people will say, oh, look, that's the deep state. Okay, that's a fair argument, but he truly believes this. So we do need to know that.
Yeah, I think the funniest thing is, CNN kept pushing just like their opinion throughout that entire post interview as well.
Yeah.
They're like, how do you feel about Trump just continuously lying? Well, maybe let's talk about it a little bit more. Maybe don't be so assertive in the way that you're trying to talk to people. That's the first thing. I think the funniest thing, though, is the reaction. AOC had tons of reactions. CNN is so bad. Rick Wilson, who is the founder of the Lincoln Project, just basically like the very anti-Republican, claims to be former Republican people. He had a whole rant that was like, this is the nominee, F this, F that, very expletive. But I thought this one was really kind of interesting too. And we only have a few more minutes, so I'm not going to play the whole thing, but this was Anderson Cooper responding to on air, responding to the Trump CNN thing. And so here is Anderson Cooper.
Many of you have expressed deep anger and disappointment. Many of you are upset that someone who attempted to destroy our democracy was invited to sit on a stage in front of a crowd of Republican voters to answer questions, and predictably continued to spew lie after lie after lie. And I get it. It was disturbing. It was disturbing to see and hear that person refer to a black law enforcement officer as a thug, an adjective he used many times to describe black men, and call Caitlin Collins, the moderator, nasty, which is what he calls any woman who stands up to him. It was disturbing to hear him speak so highly of QAnon conspirators and insurrectionists who assaulted police officers in our democracy.
Lies.
And it was awful to hear him spread ridiculous lies about the election. And it was certainly disturbing to hear that audience, young and old, our fellow citizens, people who love their kids and go to church, laugh and applaud his lies and his continued defamation of a woman who, according to a jury of his peers, he's sexually abused and defamed. As good a job as Caitlin Collins did trying to fact check him, it is impossible to fact check fully because he lies so shamelessly.
Oh my God, he just lied all the time.
Many of you think CNN shouldn't have given him any platform to speak, and I understand the anger about that. Giving him the audience, the time, I get that. But this is what I also get.
This is like the best part.
The man you were so disturbed to see and hear from last night, that man is the front runner for the Republican nomination for president. And according to polling, no other Republican is even close. That man you were so upset to hear from last night, he may be president of the United States in less than 2 years. And that audience that upset you, that's a sampling of about half the country.
Yep.
They are your
Reminder.
family members,
It's
your
important.
neighbors, and they are voting. And many said they're voting for him. Now, maybe you haven't been paying attention to him since he left office. Maybe you've been enjoying not hearing from him, thinking it can't happen again. Some investigation is going to stop him. Well, it hasn't so far. So if last night showed anything, it showed it can happen again. It is happening again. He hasn't changed, and he is running hard.
Absolutely.
You have every right to be outraged today and angry and never watch this network again.
That's the most important part. You have the right to be outraged and never watch this network again. Don't worry, Anderson Cooper. I'm not. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Everybody, we do have to take a break on the radio. So we will be right back with more Speechless, but stay tuned. We got a little bit more to wrap up with this, and we're going to stay after on YouTube, Facebook, and everywhere else. We'll be right back with more Speechless on Cities 92.9, the news and talk of Bloomington Normal. No, I think that some of the most important parts, I think this video is actually so great. I mean, yes, he starts off, Slanderson Cooper starts off with all these things about, well, you just keep spewing lies and everything. But he says two things that are so crucial in this video. So crucial. The first, about half the country agrees with Donald Trump, even if they don't even want, maybe they don't even want Donald Trump to necessarily be president in 2024. They agree with the sentiment of everything that he says, right?
Mm-hmm.
And people need to get used to that. And that's one thing that I actually think is great. And that one of the first times I'll ever praise CNN for is because they did bring on Trump to basically have unfettered access to their viewership, which is usually pretty low, but their viewership. And so we got to expose people. And that's the one thing I try to do with this show and with Turning Point on our campus and everything, is that we're exposing people to a viewpoint that half the country holds, but stays quiet about, is speechless about, because of the left's constant woke mob style speech, not violence. Sometimes violence, but just anger and hatefulness towards anything that disagrees with their narrative.
Mm-hmm.
That's the first thing. The second thing is, you have a right to be outraged today and never watch the network again. I just think that's like the funniest flippant thing is saying you have a right to never watch this network again. Going out and basically saying you don't have to watch us.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think it's hilarious that it's like, hey, you've gotten so used to one side that now that there's another side, you just shouldn't watch us. Like, are you serious? You're supposed to be an objective journalist.
Yeah.
Like you can't even pretend you are if you say that.
No.
You know, it's okay to say, hey, you know what? I disagree with what he's saying, but I think it's important because half the country does believe this. We need to expose it. We need to show that this is what. If he took that approach, it's like, okay, that's respectable. That's fair. But when he's like, no, you should just not watch us because of what we do.
Mm-hmm.
Are you serious? Like, that's really like, is that how upset you are? I mean, keep in mind, he also brought on a woman that said that, rape was sexy. So
that's what Carroll said. That's a big man. That whole story. I know we don't even have enough time to get into that one, but that's just.
I will say his Trump at the town hall talking about her was one of the funniest moments. And it's like, those are the moments where I'm like, I really miss him. I do. I think, the best thing is just her cat or her dog, his name was Vagina. Just the way he said it is so funny.
Vagina, what is that?
It's one of the funniest things.
What the heck?
He's so funny with that.
Yeah, that's hilarious. We got about 2-3 minutes until we're going to be back on, so we can keep going with some more of this. Why don't we answer in the meantime? We can answer this question from Jim.
Yeah.
What's it like being a high school teacher in 2023? Do you keep your politics to yourself? Does anybody ask you about your politics?
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, my kids definitely ask. My students ask. They're very curious as to what I believe, and I play the objective pretty well. I don't tell them. No, I'm not going to tell them who I voted for or who I'm going to vote for. When they ask me, who are you going to vote for? I go, well, because I actually, because I'm teaching government next year, so I put all the presidential candidates so far on the wall. I always say, well, of the ones up there, here's who I think might have who I might be supporting right now, but I don't know. There's still some on the I'm very open with well, here's right now, but could switch. They've asked me, what do you think about the election? I go, well, I think there's a couple different scenarios, and I kind of I've laid out my scenarios as to and why. What's it like to teach? I mean, I love teaching. I'm about to finish up my first year. We have about 3.5 days left, which is crazy to say. I mean, I'm excited, but I'm also so sad because it's like I will miss them over the summer. There's definitely issues. I mean, there's issues everywhere. There's issues with every single school system in every single state. I think there's going to be some changes happening over the summer, which I'm excited about, that will make it a little easier. And our new governor here in Nevada has been wonderful with really trying to fix some of these issues. So, yeah, I mean, it's always has its issues. I do see a lot of positive that's going to come out of it. And I do see a lot of positive I have now. I mean, I do love my job more than anything. I'm so happy I decided to go in this profession and work with these kids.
Awesome. Well, that's good. If anybody else has any questions, feel free. You can always type them in the chat. We don't have much time left on the radio, and so it's kind of hard to take call. But if you're interested in coming onto the stream, one question that consistently gets brought up or talking point that I hear is that Ron DeSantis is a rhino, or Ron DeSantis is like not conservative or something like that. We'd love to talk more about that. That's one thing I really want to understand people's perspective on that. Tell me how wrong I am for being more of a Ron DeSantis supporter. I want to know what you have to say. So, so feel free to, if you're interested, if you have thoughts on that, put in the comments that you might want to come on, and I want to talk to you guys about that. But in the meantime, we're coming back on the radio right about now. And we are back with Speechless on Cities 92.9, the news and talk of Bloomington Normal. I'm your host, Kev. We've been talking about a lot of different things today. And if you missed any of it about birthing people, about opting out of Mother's Day, the Trump CNN town hall, or Ron DeSantis' event in Peoria this last Friday, feel free to go check us out on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, or Twitter. On YouTube and Twitch, it's Kevin Phares, Speechless with Kev Phares, last name Phares, Speechless with Kev Phares. On Facebook and Twitter, it's obviously, you guys know, Cities 92.9, or if you're, thank you guys so much for just listening on the radio or on your app. Really appreciate that too. But in this time, I've been talking a lot about, I've been talking with Josh Bender, a high school history teacher, about a lot of different things that has to do with Trump and his CNN town hall. And then we also talked about DeSantis in Peoria. And then yesterday, both Trump and DeSantis were both supposed to be in Iowa. So DeSantis had an event earlier in the day that was in Des Moines, as Trump had an event, or what, am I flipping those?
Flipping them, Cedar Rapids and then Des Moines for Trump.
So earlier in the day, DeSantis had an event in Cedar Rapids. And then later in the day, he was supposed to have one in Des Moines, which I believe he went to. Trump earlier in the day was supposed to have an event in Des Moines that got canceled due to inclement weather. And so it was just kind of interesting to see that DeSantis obviously was touring around Iowa, and Trump canceled due to weather. Josh,
Allegedly.
I know you have. Okay, Josh, let's hear what you have to say about that then.
Yeah, no, I think that he canceled because his audience was not what he wanted. He was expecting thousands, and instead hundreds showed up. The weather that they say was so bad was north. It was set to expire by the time he would have been there. Simply what it was the audience wasn't there because people are kind of getting tired of him. While DeSantis had a huge crowd, he was mingling there's videos of him mingling with people and really working the room in a way that we hadn't seen in a while, which is cool to see him do. Another person pointed out too that, hey, Trump is flying on a plane that's expensive. So would it be worth it to go there to only speak to a couple hundred? Well, for Trump, no. To many others, yes. The money wise, I will argue the money thing is a fair point. But I will say this: after Trump canceled, DeSantis went to Des Moines and did an impromptu visit and shook hands and did everything that was supposed to go on. Clear skies, people were out. It drizzled or I think they say it rained for about 10 minutes overall. So I think he went because he saw those numbers and said, that's not worth it to go, because if I'm not stoking my ego a little bit, there's no point.
But I do want to push back on that a little bit, because from what I would understand is maybe the crowd wasn't there because of the possible inclement weather, because there were tornado warnings and such. And so maybe that's why the numbers, tornado watches that were showing. And so you could have people that are just like, yep, you know what? I'm not going to go today because the weather is looking so bad. And so really the question of it would be then is, was it the crowd that pushed Trump away, or was it the weather that pushed the crowd away that also pushed Trump away?
I think that crowd has gone through horrible weather before. I mean, rainstorms, extreme cold. There was the one in Wisconsin right before the election that was really, really cold that I know that you went to. Was the audience scared away from the weather?
I don't know. But we do need to wrap up the show on the air. So everybody, I know Josh and I are likely going to keep this conversation going off the air a little bit more about Trump DeSantis 2024. If you want to go tune into that and even share your thoughts, feel free to go on to Cities 92.9 Facebook. You can watch us there. You can go onto my YouTube, Speechless with Kev Phares, my Twitch, Kevin Phares, or the Cities 92.9 Twitter. Watch us on all those different places. In the meantime, guys, I hope you guys have a wonderful Mother's Day. Thank your mothers. Give them a hug, give them a kiss, and be back next Sunday for more Speechless on Cities 92.9 from 3 to 5. On Sundays. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and we'll be back. Bye-bye. Okay. So now we are just live on YouTube and such. Now I can kind of take a breather a little bit. Oh, good
take a
seat.
seat. There you go.
I know I've been standing for 2+ hours. I walk to work. My legs are killing me. But yes, we are now only live everywhere else, guys. So now we're going to go unfettered for a little while. We can now curse if we want to. I'm not. Trying to see what else we can do. We could try to take, if you have actually, here's what I'll do is I can put in here, copy. If you guys are interested in joining the stream, use that link right there. We can bring you on into the stream and talk to you guys. Use that link. And if you got questions or you want to talk more about the Trump 2024, DeSantis 2024, anything like that, feel free to check that out. Like I said, use that. We want to talk to you guys. Obviously, during the show, we kind of have a plan of where we're going with things when it's on the radio, but now it's a little bit different. So feel free, check us out. Like I said, you can go through that. Josh, I want to know more too. So going back, what you thought about the protester video.
I thought it was one of the funniest videos I've seen. I mean, if I'm being completely honest, I watched it and the whole time I was like, first of all, I was like, wow, Kevin has balls for doing this. Like, props to you, man. That was awesome. I loved it. I was loving it. Everything that the protesters were saying, I was just like, that's false. That's wrong. That's false. I was, I do love one of my favorite moments was when there's a guy with a camera in your face and he has a camera in your face. He goes, are you too afraid to show your face? While there's a guy next to you with a mask. And I'm like, what about the guy next to him? You have the camera in your face. And he's like, you're too afraid to show your face. And I was like, what are you talking about, my guy? But the guy next to you was wearing a mask. What you call it? Antifa Joe.
Antifa Joe, I think.
That's a good one. I mean, they got so hostile. I mean, it started off fairly nice, and I think
that's what I said. Is I was like, I've never treated anybody so hostile.
Yeah.
Or there was no at any point did I ever say a slur or do anything that would that was meant to instigate anything further. It was so crazy to me how wrapped up in and almost like a psychosis. That's almost what it felt like. Is they were
I mean, you labeled it DeSantis derangement syndrome, and I think you're right. I mean, I think we're seeing this Trump derangement syndrome shifting to a DeSantis derangement syndrome. People who, I think even some of the people who hate Trump are getting sick of him, and now they were like, all right, well now they got to hate this other person, and they're starting to hate, DeSantis because they see he's a big threat. I mean, I don't think it's false to say that the media and the left want Trump to be the nominee over DeSantis because they know they can get a lot more ratings with Trump. I mean, he is better for ratings, but they also know how to beat him, and then they don't know how to beat DeSantis, so they're going to do everything they can to just try to smear him in the way they smear Trump. And I mean, I guess time will tell us if it works.
Yeah, I think you make a point there when it says that Trump, they know that they can beat Trump. They've seen it happen before. DeSantis, they've never beat before. And so I think it's like they would rather go up against the enemy they know than the enemy they don't know.
Right.
That's the way I kind of see it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's a great analogy. Yeah. You rather face one, you know Trump's playbook. Trump has not changed his playbook. He's not going to. Yeah. Is that necessarily wrong? No, it's worked for him. But we know they know what they're going up against, so they're going to stick with that.
Absolutely. The swamp won't let Trump anywhere near the White House ever again. You see, Jim, I understand what you're saying. I think part of me is the Trump of today is so much different than the Trump of 2016, and that's where it becomes difficult for me.
Sorry, go ahead.
All right, well, it's just this idea. I mean, because Trump in 2016, he had a really good marketing tactic of just being I'm the outsider. I've never really been in politics before. I've had some friends in politics, but I look at all these people, they're crap, and there's the whole swamp and everything, and we're gonna get rid of them, right? That was his whole sales point. And then he got into office, and McConnell's still there. You have Schumer still there. Okay, Pelosi got fired in this last election cycle, but it took 2 years after he got out of office for them to get rid of her as Speaker of the House. I mean, he had Paul Ryan there. Obviously, he got kicked out, so maybe kind of the swamp there. But I don't know. I feel Fauci messed up the AIDS epidemic back in the day, and yet he was still there to do COVID. And then Trump was like, told everybody like, hey, like I'm following what Fauci's telling me to do. Like, that's what he said at the beginning of it. And then, I mean, you even gave him props for the economy. I think he did great for the economy for the first 3 years, and then COVID hit, and he does some of the most socialist policy we've had since the New Deal back in the 30s, where he gives out direct payments to the American people. As a conservative, that makes me so angry in the fact that he did that. And I mean, I don't know. I just think today he doesn't really, I mean, he worked with the swamp so much. He can't really run on the drain the swamp thing anymore because he messed that up. He didn't really drain the swamp. I mean, I guess he exposed some of the swamp, but he didn't drain it.
Yeah, I mean, and I've said it before. Trump in 2016, his whole shtick was, they want you, I'm in the way, and I'm proudly going to be the one who stands in the way. And that was a narrative and a person we can get behind, because I really respected that. All right, you know what? They're coming after us, but he's going to step in the way, and he's going to take the hits. He's shifted, though, to become, they want me, and now we need you guys to fall on your sword for me. I've seen this shift. It's very subtle, but it's a shift of, I need you to fight for me now, instead of I'm going to keep fighting for you. And do I think that's wrong necessarily? No. It's just not what I respect. It's not really what I want. I want that. No. They're coming after me. That's good, because now they're not focused on you. I think you have a great point too with in terms of the swamp. I think he did great at exposing it. He did a very bad job at draining it. In fact, he hired a lot of the swamp too.
Yeah, but then he ended up getting some of them out and stuff too. And he and he had some fascinating individuals that fell on swords for him too. I mean, you had Michael Flynn, you had Roger Stone, who was just such a I love Roger Stone. I think he's one of the funniest people in the world. But so he had some anti-swamp people too. But I just think that I think with Trump, I think that, and this is kind of what I'll wrap up when it comes to the Trump thing, because I want to be ultra clear with this. I am like, when it comes to the policy wise, I am like so super ultra MAGA. Like, I love everything about what MAGA policy was originally intended. However, Trump likes to, I mean, we know this. Trump loves to embellish. I mean, his like most famous quotes are like, I'm the greatest. Everybody knows I'm the greatest president. I'm absolutely the greatest. Like, everybody knows that's his shtick, right? And he embellishes his accomplishments as being super duper conservative all the time. Okay. When it comes to, I'll give him, when it comes to social issues, abortion, 100% got Amy Coney Barrett, got Justice Brett Kavanaugh, made it so that Roe v. Wade is overturned 100%. And he's also one of the first presidents to be like super duper openly pro-life since Reagan. I'll give him that one. But when it comes to guns, he banned bump stocks and was openly praised red flag laws. These are two things that's more gun control than Obama put in, from what I understand. That's the first thing. And then economy being, when it comes to the trans stuff, he had he allowed a trans person in Miss Universe.
Yeah, I did see that. I did see that come out.
He allowed a trans person in Miss Universe. Is nobody gonna like? I'll pull up the article now that I can do that. But so there's that one, and then the economy I already talked about. It's like he passed some of the largest spending packages, and he didn't have to do that. And I know that you have kind of a different. That's one where a place that you even defend Trump on a little bit. Isn't it?
I say at the beginning of COVID, when we didn't know what this was and we didn't understand. You know what? I understood we had to take some desperate measures and spend some money, and I think that's interesting. You know, I'm like, okay, you know what? Yeah, we want to make sure people are safe and at home and this and that. But a couple months in, when we had some data and we were able to look at it and go, well, we see this probably isn't as bad as it was supposed to be, and you know, and this and that. And he kept going and he kept pushing this. And in fact, he attacked people like Bryant Kemp for opening beaches early. And you know, we see this and it's like, why are you in favor of that? In fact, there's an ad from the 2020 campaign that Trump ran that is Fauci saying, I tell Trump to do this and he does it, no pushback. And I told Trump to do this and he did it, no pushback. And you know what? He's so great to work with. So it's like right there. I mean, DeSantis could take that ad and just put DeSantis after it and be like, there's my ad.
Yeah, there's
like, genuinely.
I want to show this though, because this is the thing that I feel like went so underreported. But so Trump let trans beauty queen compete in Miss Universe in potential GOP or in a liability for his GOP. So Trump overturned his rules at his own Miss Universe organization to allow transgender contestant. This was back in 2012. So okay, so it was like before his last competition, but this was like before like being trans was nearly as big of a thing as it is now back in 2012, back when it was like still outside of the Overton window of like things that were considered like publicly acceptable. So before declaring Sunday that God created two genders, male and female, former President Donald Trump rose to stardom among the LGBTQ community when he overturned the rules of his own Miss Universe organization to allow transgender women to compete in 2012. Over a decade ago, he famously overturned an earlier decision by the Miss Universe organization, which Trump owned from 2016 to 2015, to disqualify Canadian model Jenna Talca, whatever, Canadian crap, then 23 because she was not naturally born female. Trump reversed the decision. Sorry, it keeps bringing up all these ads. Trump reversed the decision, saying the organization would respect the laws of Canada and allow this person to compete in Miss Universe Canada title, where the winner would go on to compete in the global telecast. We let her in, Trump said in a video on April 4th, 2012. We'll see what happens. Maybe she'll do well. Maybe she won't. You have 58 different girls trying to be Miss Canada. It'll be very interesting to see what happens. If for some reason she should win, well, then she has to win the Miss Universe contest. Everybody wants to be Miss Universe. I don't think it's going to be easy. So Trump, so for the person that claims to be super duper, like not, or like pro woman, and in that case being pro biological gender, he did let a trans beauty queen, whatever, go into his Miss Universe back in 2012. And yeah, it's a long time ago, and there's a lot of like things that you could try to say to defend him. But at the end of the day, the thing that I see this as is that Trump does what he does, and this isn't necessarily for every issue, but this is shown in this instance, is that he does what he does not because of values, but because of self-promotion. Whatever can promote himself further, right?
Yeah, oh yeah. I mean, there's no denying it. I think I've even said, I don't think Trump wants to run this election. I don't think he wants to. I don't think he wants to be president again. He feels he has to, because he feels like he doesn't want to let his supporters down by not doing it. I do think it's really interesting that when he announced, he said, the only reason I want to keep going is my health. He gave himself an out. And I think I was in the boat that he would use that out. I don't know if he will now, but maybe he will. Maybe, he's going to keep fighting, eventually gets closer, and he's going to drop. All right, I'm going to drop out because I have a health thing and this and that, because then his supporters can't be mad. Oh, he's putting his health first. But I don't know. I mean, I honestly don't know. I think it is interesting. Even at the CNN town hall, I was like, he's looking a little tired, and I don't blame him. He's, he's in his late 70s. Of course, he's looking tired. I don't blame him. He's just not who he was, and that's okay.
Exactly. And I think that's the thing is because so Jim here says he was a good president, though. Absolutely, a great president in terms of the things that he did. We can get away from the whole like values thing, because like that's what's important. What's important to me is values to a big extent. I know other people like claim like, well, it doesn't really matter to me what you value as long as you put in the policy, and to an extent, I kind of see that too. But I mean, the values really matter to me a lot. And he was a good president. He did a lot of great things, but he made mistakes. And I think that's the biggest thing that I want to point out here is that we can recognize, yes, that he was a good president. That there was another one here. Andrea said, maybe it's Andrea. I think it's Andrea. I know I messed it up last week, but she said, I agree with Jim. When Trump was president, I felt pretty safe. I did too. Yeah. I mean, like when it comes to Biden, my IRA might be taxed on the back end now. It wasn't supposed to be, but it might be now. A lot of things like that. He loves the country also. Yes, Trump, I 100% believe in terms of values. I do believe that he genuinely loves America, and the general idea of what America is supposed to be. But I don't necessarily believe that Trump, in terms of his personal values, is ardently conservative. I think on issues of abortion, I think he did what he thought he needed to do to help his base. But I don't think personally that he really cares that much about abortion. Personally, I don't think that he really cares that much about abortion.
I would agree. I mean, I think, I think it's interesting too, because one thing we really, I remember in the 2020 election, one thing we really defended him on was when people said he was homophobic. Mm-hmm. And we were like, no, here's this history of
pro-gay and pro-LGBTQ.
Pro that. That was one thing we really defended him on.
Mm-hmm.
I know, even me, I'm very pro-gay marriage. I'm very pro, gay people.
Yeah.
And so that was one of my things. Like, no, I'm defending him on this because it's even Elton John defended him.
Yeah.
Like Elton John's like, what are you talking about? He was one of the first to let us in and like let us.
He's also the first president to go into office saying that he supported gay marriage.
Yes, which is interesting.
Obama did not support or did not openly support gay marriage when he entered office.
No.
So-
And so I think that's really interesting. How it's shifted a bit. Well, and I think because the culture war around the trans issue is really what was reignited. Most people are kind of it's like, the gay issue is not a thing.
Yeah.
To most people, it's like, all right, that's the kind of that's established. We're fine. We're fine. But it's shifted so much that it's being reignited, and we have to start looking at it now, especially around the idea of children. I think children's the big one. And what do we do with kids? If you're an adult, whatever, you're an adult. And that's kind of where most people are. Is if you're an adult, do what you want.
Absolutely. Josh, I have to go pee real quick. I'm going to be straight up with everybody who's watching too. I have to go pee real quick. Give everybody a history lesson while I'm gone.
History lesson. All right. I don't know what I can do, but I'm looking at some of these comments too. I see Trump, DeSantis, Trump, Ramaswamy. So Trump, DeSantis won't happen, sadly. Trump has come out and said it won't happen. I think for a while there it was possible, but because Trump is his own worst enemy at times, he got rid of that possibility because Trump wouldn't give 100% loyalty to him, and I think that's sad. Trump, Ramaswamy. I do like Ramaswamy. I see Lloyd. I'd be curious to see what you mean by he says no Ramaswamy. Don't want to become Great Britain, Ireland, or Scotland. I'm curious what you mean by that because Ramaswamy is I like him. I think he's overall a pretty good guy. I think he says a lot of good things. But saying and acting are obviously different. I understand that. I love his idea about the Federal Department of Education, getting rid of that. I'm a huge proponent of that. I hate that department. It's a waste of money. But I'm curious what you mean by that. Overall, I think Trump has to pick someone who's very Trumpian. I can see him going for like a Carrie Lake. I think Carrie Lake actually would be one of his smartest bets because they are both people who feel slighted by the system and who have ran on the same policy. I think that would be really, really smart for him. And so I could see him doing that. We have to play the identity. So that's a woman. I mean, we have to play the identity, which I hate, but that's where we're at. But yeah, I don't know because Ramaswamy's been hitting Trump pretty hard. So I don't know if they would be necessarily the most pro together. So I don't know. Very, very interesting. Very interesting. I like that one though. Let's see. I'm very conservative, and this administration. Yeah, this administration absolutely is insane. I agree. The Biden administration is insane. The fact that we, it's interesting because I think Biden won not because people were anti-Trump or because they were pro-Biden. They're anti-Trump, and that's what a lot of it was, especially younger voters. Growing up, I remember the Obama administration. I remember, goofy Grandpa Joe. Like that's what Joe Biden was. He was this goofy grandpa, man. And so a lot of young people voted for him for that because he wasn't Trump. And unfortunately, they're starting to reap what they sow, and they're starting to see the error of their ways. Biden voter regret is a real thing, and I've seen it. And so the real question is, because it looks like Biden's going to be the Democrat nominee at this point. That's what it looks like. If Biden's the nominee, what can we do to snag those people that voted not for Biden, but voted against Trump? Obviously, if we have a Trump versus Biden again, that's not what's going to happen. We're going to get, I think if it's Trump versus Biden again, Biden wins because the people who don't want to vote for either of them are just going to stay home and not vote. And that's a problem because we need to get those people who don't like Biden, but don't like Trump to come vote. And if those are the nominees, they won't. That's another great point too. To wipe out the college debt. Yeah, he campaigned on the fact that he would wipe out college debt. That was one thing he said. And now it's looking like it's not going to happen because the Supreme Court is more than likely going to rule against it. I would think they would, and it'd make the most sense to me. But yeah, I think that was a huge one. Is he lied? He did it for the 22 election as well, and it worked out pretty well for him. The red wave didn't happen the way it was supposed to. We had a red trickle, a red puddle. It was not the red wave we were supposed to have. I mean, a lot of these big wins we were supposed to have, we didn't. And so I don't know. I think that's interesting. That I'm very curious to see what happens this year. I'm just looking at some other comments too.
I'm back.
What's up, guy? I was just answering some comment questions and stuff like that too.
Awesome. Yeah, I heard you start. I think you started off with one of them that had to do with Trump v. DeSantis or Trump Ramaswamy. What was your thoughts on that?
I said a Trump versus DeSantis ticket won't happen anymore. Trump has said that it won't.
I think that it can. I think here's the thing that I think too is because I'll be straight up. I'm not a moderate. I'm a conservative, but I do think that there are moderates that have started to embrace DeSantis.
That's kind of what I was getting to.
And I think that if DeSantis were, I think those voters, the ones that have started to embrace DeSantis or are open to DeSantis more than they are Trump, would abandon ship if they went with Trump. And I also think that there are Trump voters. I don't necessarily think they'd abandon ship, because like I said, there are Trump voters that I know and I respect their opinion. I just want to learn more about it. That when they think that DeSantis is a rhino and think that he's part of the swamp or anything like that, they say they would also be very skeptical of a Trump DeSantis ticket. And so I just don't think it could happen. As in terms of Ramaswamy, I have been clear on my show before. I think Ramaswamy is running for either VP or he's running simply to get his name out there more in terms of his media and everything like that. What do you think, Josh?
Yeah, I think I said it. I said I don't think he'd be with Trump because he's hit at Trump a little bit, but recently he's pulled back on Trump attacks and gone more towards DeSantis.
Mm-hmm.
So I wonder if there was a conversation between the organizations, between the campaigns. It was like, hey, go hit DeSantis a little more, and maybe not VP, but Secretary of Commerce, Secretary, some sort of secretary that he wants to do. And I could see that happening for sure. Yeah, I think Ramaswamy he's an interesting guy. I think he's a very interesting guy. He seems like a very genuine guy, very cool guy.
Yeah, there was one thing I wanted to bring up, and we didn't really have time for it on the show, but it was one thing I did want to bring up and talk to you about is, did you hear about his raise the voting age to 25 thing?
I did hear him say that.
Okay, so I'll introduce it here. So this is out of the New York Post. GOP candidate Vivek Ramaswamy wants to raise the voting age to 25. Republican presidential candidate Vivek Ramaswamy said he wants to raise the voting age from 18 to 25 for anyone who is not in public service or can't pass a basic civics test. So basically the whole idea is that you should either, if you want to vote between 18 through 25, you should have either 6 months of service in either the military, a first responder, police, fire, or otherwise something regarding that kind of public service, or you should be able to pass the basic civics test that is required of immigrants entering the United States between 18 and 25. What are your thoughts on that, Josh?
I think that's a really interesting idea. I'm not a fan of it, but I think it makes sense. I don't know if that makes sense, but like I wouldn't want to see it, but I do think it makes a lot of sense what he's saying. The idea of, okay, fine, you want to vote, you have to understand what our Constitution is, you have to understand how our government functions, you have to understand all of this. And then the idea of if you're a public servant, so police, fire, military, I would like to put teachers in there because we're very, very, very dependent. Public school teachers are very dependent on the government.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think I think the sentiment of why he's saying it makes sense, and I think that's the big thing.
Yeah, and so we're gonna get to some other stuff that someone of that comments there. But the first thing I want to say is when it comes to this policy, I think first thing is that I've even said I don't agree with the initial reasonings for like things like poll taxes and what are the tests that they used to make people do back in civil rights era. Litmus tests. Litmus tests.
Literacy tests.
Literacy tests. I don't love that kind of stuff, and I could totally see like the left taking these ideas and comparing it to that. But I've said like I think in the past I've said I think you should have to like have a receipt from the IRS to show that to be eligible to vote. Like I think you should have to show that you paid taxes to be eligible to vote. I think that's one. And then another one is I've said in the past, I think that passing a basic government test should be something considered for voting, simply because we live in a generation that's so apathetic and pays attention to maybe 5 headlines. I call them 5 headline voters. And it's
Yeah.
that they hear 5 headlines like Trump is a racist, or Republicans are trying to take away your bodily autonomy and all that kind of stuff, and they vote based on that. And like I understand the argument, like the quote unquote patriotic argument that like, oh well, like everybody has a right to vote, it's a God-given right and everything like that. Interestingly enough, there's actually one identity group that there's only one identity group that does not have an enshrined right to vote in the Constitution. You know what identity group that is, Josh?
Who is that?
White men. Think about it.
Yeah, well, it's actually
Have
the
the 19th.
Yeah, the only races that were actually mentioned are well, yeah, I guess you're right because they said black men have the right to vote
Mhm.
with the
So all women, and then in the 13th, 14th, and 15th, it's outlined equal rights for people of color.
Yeah.
Essentially.
Yeah.
And so the only group that does not have a right to vote in the United States, at least according to our Constitution, is white men. And yet we're
Yeah.
so oppressed, you know?
Yeah, because the original was just landowner.
Yeah. And so anyways, my point being is that like I get the argument. Like, no, everybody should be able to have a right to vote. You shouldn't have to necessarily like pass anything. But part of me just thinks like you should be able to have to prove at some point that then it should be directly correlated with the government about how much you know about the government and the way that things work.
Yeah, yeah.
And I know it sounds bad I know it doesn't sound great, but I kind of agree with the sentiment of what he's saying. At least
I think the sentiment's there.
Yeah. And the other thing too is like he's only proposing a constitutional amendment. I'm happy that he says that because I don't think that this should go through anything other than it being a constitutional amendment.
Mm-hmm.
But I also think it's, I don't know, not to use the left's terminology, but I think there's like 40, 50, 67-year-olds that also would not be able to show this kind of, that kind of.
No, I agree. I
Okay.
agree.
And you said you want to answer Roger, so let's
Yeah, I
address
do.
this question.
So I like this comment. So Bender once said CRT is the same as equity. Again, someone who believes he's an expert because he got a bachelor's from ISU. No, I'm not an expert because I got a bachelor's. I don't lean on my credentials like that the same way others do. In fact, my degree is just that, a degree, simply to help. The reason I believe CRT and equity is the same thing is because it is. I've seen it. I went to ISU, who taught me that in classes. Now, that's again not because I got a bachelor's. I took classes at ISU who said basically the same thing. CRT, critical race theory, is all about the idea that because of your race, you are inherently disadvantaged. So there's society that needs to change to make it so that those advantages don't show, I guess, or that they are better. That is equity. Equity is the idea that you are inherently disadvantaged based on some sort of factor, whether it be race or gender or sexual orientation or anything like that. So because of that, the world needs to bend to you and make it easier for you. Oh, you got a 0? Well, it's because, no, you didn't actually get a 0. It's because you're oppressed in this country. I hate that. That's such a stupid idea. I mean, that is the low expectations in every single way. If you really think that there are groups of people in this country who can't do things because of their ideology or because of their identity, look in the mirror, because I have seen that is not true. Every single student I have is brilliant in their own way. They are. Are some great at school? No. But they're brilliant in other ways, and that's okay. I love that, and I encourage them to go that way. There's some that are brilliant at school who aren't good at some other things. Like they can't, I can't work with my hands. I can't go build an engine.
I just love the part of that comment. It says again, someone who believes he's an expert because he got a bachelor's from ISU. One, I don't claim to be an expert. I don't think Josh claims to be an expert.
No,
we're here sharing our opinion because we have a right to, Roger, just like you do. I agree, you do. But your opinion's wrong if your opinion is that we think that we're experts, because it's not an opinion. It's a statement of fact, and it's unfactual.
The only thing I claim to be an expert in is the history of like the MCU, like the Marvel Cinematic Universe, because I've watched that too many times.
Okay, Josh.
That's what
we want people to like you.
I'm just saying that's what I'm an expert in. That's what I'm an expert in.
So but the problem that the problem is that we have people like these hecklers that just think that they're so high and mighty on everything. And Roger, you're not. You're not. You think you're a lot more important than you are by saying something like that. Roger, go start your own show if you want to be an expert in something.
Hey, Roger, facts don't care about your feelings.
Facts don't care about your feelings. I'm not an expert, Roger. I'll say it any day of the week. I'm sharing
No,
my
me either.
opinion here because I have every right to. Let's go for some other things here. Raven here says, I think it's only really about 20 to 30% that's firmly in a camp. It's about 40 to 60% in the middle, and that doesn't care. But Bud Light made them move a bit. It must have been a reference to something I said earlier.
It was about someone asked. I think it was Jim. So, what percentage of Americans do you still think are moderates?
Yeah.
I think 40 to 60% is a fair estimate.
Yeah, I'd say probably. I don't know. When it comes to moderate, like I think that it's 40 to 60% in the middle that doesn't care. Like I'd say if you're talking strictly moderate, I'd say it's like 10 to 20%. But I'd give you an extra 30% onto that, 30 to 50 that just doesn't care.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I think there's a good portion of Americans that they lean one way or the other, but they'll vote with the issue or vote with the time.
Absolutely.
And I think that's where majority are. The reason, the country looks so, and Jim, to add to you, it looks like everyone's in their camp. Well, or in their camp. That's because that's what the media wants you to believe. They want you to believe that everyone is in this camp and that, majority are left wing, for example. That's not the case. Or I think independent's a better way to put it. Yeah. I mean, most people are independent voters and they vote with as the tide shifts. There's these very, very extreme sides that are the loudest, the silent, or I guess the loud minority of people who really push that. Hey, look, if you don't believe this, everyone believes this. Well, then you actually talk to most and they don't, or they're like, well, I have some issue with it, and that's in the big question of politics is always, how do you get that 60% to join you?
Yeah.
That's the big one.
No, absolutely. And Jim called you a nerd, which is a factual statement.
It's true.
Jim, Josh is a nerd, and
I don't know if you see behind me, that is the Daily Bugle Lego set. So I mean, yes.
You're such a nerd.
Yeah. Facts. That's true.
Oh my gosh. Okay. What other topics do we want to discuss? What else kind of happened recently?
Jeez.
Let's go to my news. Jim says kidding. No, you weren't, Jim.
No, you're not. It's okay. I call
you
myself.
You didn't say kidding until I called it out.
No,
Jim. You didn't.
I call myself a nerd all the time. It's totally fine. I have a Spider-Man tattoo that you can't see, but it's up here. I mean, I'm a nerd. God, I mean, a lot. I mean, I feel like there's so much happening at once that it's hard to kind of look at.
Let's go see what's trending on Twitter.
Trending on Twitter. There you go.
Yep, that's usually we used to almost try to do that.
Yeah, we did.
What's trending on Twitter? Let's see if there's anything breaking. Nope.
I think Biden gave a commencement address yesterday.
Yeah, at Howard University, which is a historically black college and university.
That's right. He did. He called it a. He did say, and it's not just because I'm at a black HBCU. Like you just repeated yourself.
I did put the link back in there for anybody else that wants to join. If you're interested in joining, I'd be more than happy to talk with anybody in the chat a little bit more. What do you think of Tucker going on Twitter with his show? That's an interesting one.
Great question.
What do you think, Josh?
Smart. Yeah. I mean, Twitter is trying to become a open platform for everyone. And that's a good place to go. And I think, because the way these contracts sometimes work is you have a non-compete clause, so you can't go to another network for however long. So they'll take you off the air, but keep paying you to not go to these places.
Yeah.
So they lay out the legacy media, but they don't lay out places like Twitter because it's his private account.
Yeah.
So it's his private profile, so he can do what he wants on there. Kind of genius workaround, and it's probably a way to get out of his contract. Is what I'm thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Is he's kind of playing this 4D chess of, hey, I can go expose it on Twitter where everyone will see it, or you can drop me out of this contract. I can go somewhere else who will pay me better, I could still get it out, but maybe not many people will see it because if it's on Twitter, anyone can see it, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's do this. I pulled up the video, and so we're gonna react. We're gonna do Kev and Josh reacts. Cut right there.
There we go.
So Kev and Josh react to Tucker Carlson going on Twitter. Let's look at this video here. It came out, I believe, just about a week ago. Let's watch this.
Hey, it's Tucker Carlson. You often hear people say the news is full of lies, but most of the time that's not exactly right. Much of what you see on television or read the New York Times is in fact true in the literal sense. It could pass one of the media's own fact checks. Lawyers would be willing to sign off on it. In fact, they may have. But that doesn't make it true. It's not true. At the most basic level, the news you consume is a lie.
Absolutely 100% correct. At the most basic level, the news you consume is a lie, assuming that it's from legacy media. That's the thing, is legacy media is special interest on you. I mean, look, Fox is owned, and a lot of the major networks are basically like not owned, but they have major investors from BlackRock and Pfizer. Look, the thing is that the media that you are, yes, it's a lie at the most basic level. What he's really trying to say too is that it's the media you are consuming is funded by somebody else and thus has a special interest invested into it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's the thing. You want to know what my media is funded by? Okay, we can even take it to Cities 92.9. Cities 92.9 is funded by local businesses. And the local businesses that invest in us listen to our content and like what they hear, not the other way around. See, what happens in legacy media, is that you have these major donors that give money, and thus the channel can stay and must push the narrative that is being asked of them. Places like Cities 92.9, what I plan on doing once I even grow my YouTube channel even more is I'm going to say what I want. And if you want to sponsor this show, you can. But you're not going to change what I have to say. And that's the great thing about alternative media. Most alternative media, Daily Wire, The Blaze, most of them is what it is you get sponsored by people that want to sponsor your content.
Right.
And know what you're about. Let's keep going with this video.
A lie of the stealthiest and most insidious kind. Exactly. Facts have been withheld on purpose, along with proportion and perspective. You are being manipulated.
Mm-hmm.
How does that work? Let's see. If I tell you that a man has been unjustly arrested for armed robbery, that is not, strictly speaking, a lie. He may have been framed. At this point, there's been no trial, so no one can really say. But if I don't mention the fact that the same man has been arrested for the same crime 6 times before, am I really informing you? No, I'm not. I'm misleading you. And that's what the news media are doing in every story that matters, every day of the week, every week of the year. What's it like to work in a system like that?
Well, like, look at the whole Hunter Biden laptop story. I mean, that whole thing, at best, what the media would say about it is that it's a right-wing conspiracy theory during the 2020 election. Twitter have found to explicitly actually happen. Twitter actually, before being owned by Elon Musk, Twitter actually subdued that story for the purpose of making sure that no one would actually see it.
Yeah, exactly.
That you are absolutely being manipulated. Let's keep going.
After more than 30 years in the middle of it, we could tell you stories. The best you can hope for in the news business at this point is the freedom to tell the fullest truth that you can. But there are always limits. And you know that if you bump up against those limits often enough, you will be fired for it. That's not a guess. It's guaranteed. Every person who works in English language media understands that. The rule of what you can't say defines everything.
Yep.
It's filthy, really, and it's utterly corrupting. You can't have a free society if people aren't allowed to say what they think is true. Speech is the fundamental prerequisite for democracy. That's why it's enshrined in the first of our constitutional amendments. Amazingly, as of tonight, there aren't many platforms left that allow free speech. The last big one remaining in the world, the only one, is Twitter, where we are now. Twitter has long served as the place where our national conversation incubates and develops. Twitter is not a partisan site. Everybody's allowed here, and we think that's a good thing. And yet, for the most part, the news that you see analyzed on Twitter comes from media organizations that are themselves thinly disguised propaganda outlets.
Yep.
You see it on cable news, you talk about it on Twitter. The result may feel like a debate, but actually the gatekeepers are still in charge. We think that's a bad system. We know exactly how it works, and we're sick of it. Starting soon, we'll be bringing a new version of the show we've been doing for the last 6.5 years to Twitter. We'll be bringing some other things too, which we'll tell you about. But for now, we're just grateful to be here. Free speech is the main right that you have. Without it, you have no others. See you soon.
I love Tucker. I do.
Yeah.
Actually don't love the idea of going to Twitter.
Really?
No, I still don't. Maybe it's just because of how Twitter was, but I still don't really trust Twitter. I started to, and then we have this most recent news of this new person that's going to be taking over as
the CEO.
Yes, and she's going to be a part of she's a part of the. So the weird thing is, from things that I saw is that she's a supporter of some right-leaning things, but also some left. But one of the big ones that she's been a part of is the World Economic Forum.
Yeah, she's WEF.
And I really don't like that. And so I'm not a person where I'm going to end Twitter. I'm always going to kind of be on Twitter looking at things just because it is a place to get a significant amount of information. But I wish he would, personally, what I wish he would do, it's probably not nearly as simple as going to Twitter, but kind of what I wish is that he would have either gone with the Blazer Daily Wire, that's one, or B, started his own personal channel in which he did his show on tuckercarlson.com or something like that, personally.
But again, the way I see it is could those be based on a contract thing that he can't do that? Where this is his way around that. And again, this could be his bargaining chip. Do you not want me to do this? Do you not want me to go on Twitter and do this? Cool. End my contract. Let me go make a contract with someone else where they'll put me behind a paywall, or or have some form of have me. There's some big, because on Twitter he's not going to get banned on Twitter unless he breaks the code of conduct.
Who knows? Well, yeah, but their code of conduct is so thin. You can find pretty much
changed.
You can find a crap ton of naked people on Twitter. So
yeah, it's changed a bit, but yeah, it's fascinating to see. And I do think it's interesting too that he says it's the only place that's nonpartisan, even kind of calling out YouTube, being YouTube isn't,
No, I think he'll, wherever he went, no matter where it was, he'd bring 60 million people with him. So totally. We got some hecklers in here. The Raven, what did you miss? A lot. Feel free to go back and watch it, but I appreciate you coming in now. This is after my radio show. This is, I forgot to play. Here's what I can do. Everybody, you're watching Speechless Cut for Time. These are all the stories and everything that we didn't get to in this stream. Mainly Josh and I are just kind of shooting the shit right now. I'm allowed to say that because we're not on live on
YouTube. Yeah. I like this good question over here. What thoughts on Steven Crowder? I have been so critical of Steven Crowder. And
let's real quick recap everything. Yeah, we're going to start back. So it was over a month ago, maybe almost 2 months ago now. Steven Crowder left the Blaze saying that there was no reason. That was multiple months ago, 4 or 5 months ago.
It was December when he announced it.
And so he said he was leaving the Blaze simply because it was his contract was up, couldn't come to an agreement on what his new contract would be. Said it was no animosity, kind of like how Bongino left Fox. It was there was no issue. It was just hey, I wanted something different than what they wanted of me. So they couldn't come to agreement. Then flash forward to about 2 months ago, there's a big story that Steven Crowder comes out and says that there's people in conservative media that are giving out exploitative contracts, and cherry picks a few parts of it to say, hey, these are what are exploitative. Some of it was you have to make this amount of content. If you don't, then it'll cost you in pay, everything like that. And then Jeremy Boring came out the next day, CEO of Daily Wire, the day after, and said, we are the people that Steven Crowder's talking about, and then gave an hour-long video of here is everything that was actually in that contract, and explained it and said,
and I want to specify too, non-binding term sheet, not contract. This was the first offer.
That's the other thing I was going to say, is that he qualified all of it, saying that that this is all negotiable. This was the first thing that they pushed to him and said, here's what we're going to offer you, but we're open to talking about it. And then Crowder came back and was and got really defensive and everything about it. The people, and then he also played a phone call of him and Jeremy Boring.
Yep.
That was, I don't even remember everything that was on the phone call. You can catch him up to speed on that, but it was like, it was recorded without Jeremy Boring knowing it was being recorded.
Yeah.
Which is
And
like-
what happened was this was months after the contract negotiation had ended. Cause I just recently re-listened to Shapiro talk about it. And I re-listened to the Jeremy video going through the term sheet.
Mhm.
This was months after. So what happened was they sent the initial offer to Stephen.
Yep.
They shot back and said, "We're not, absolutely not. Send us a new offer. We're not going to negotiate. We just want a new offer."
Mhm.
The Daily Wire talked about it and said, "You know what? We can't do that. This is the offer. We can negotiate, but if you're not willing to negotiate, no harm, no foul. We're done."
Mhm.
They separated. Simply, they said we're still friends. Everything like that. Just we're done. Then months later, Stephen texted Jeremy talking about the holidays, and he said, "Hey, I want to talk about everything. Just kind of friend to friend." And he's like, "Yeah, absolutely." So he gave him he said he called them. They talked about, personal stuff, and then also started going into this contract.
Mhm.
And yes, Stephen recorded it without Jeremy's information and released clips of it. After that, the Daily Wire completely shifted tune and basically went from, "Well, we're still friends," to, "Well, fuck Stephen Crowder." Like they really switched because, and I get it because they say, he was our friend, and the fact that a friend would do this to us. And then he started the Stop Big Con, implying that the Daily Wire is part of this con, this big conservative. He said that they were as bad as the left. That's a problem. That's a problem. And I mean, and I even love because Jeremy was like, I don't agree with what he said. He's like, but I'm still going to sit here and say, go join Mug Club Forever. Go join his new stuff. Go look at it because he is great. And
Mhm.
we may not agree on this, but he's still our friend. And yeah. I mean, then
there was a lot, and then now there's all this other stuff coming out.
New
So
stuff.
after all that happened, it kind of created a lot of animosity. And then Stephen Crowder publicly announced that he was getting a divorce on his show, and kind of spoke somewhat poorly of his ex-wife or
Of
gonna be
Hillary, yeah.
ex-wife. And said he said things like he didn't want their divorce. It was her fault. And then he even said something that was kind of weird. It was like, that's allowed in Texas, referencing the law that says like one person can want the divorce and the other one doesn't have to.
No fault divorce.
Yeah.
No fault divorce.
Which maybe is a little off topic, but it kind of is on topic. It's just weird to me that you would complain that you would want both people to have to want the divorce for it to happen, because the way I see it is, wouldn't you, if somebody didn't want to be with you, why would you want to be with them? Kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, and then he said, like,
First off, but
I married the wrong. My only mistake was marrying the wrong woman. Implying it's completely not his fault. And then there was a lot of stuff between him and Candace Owens, because Candace Owens like said some backhanded crap to him, and then it was released. The footage of like Ring doorbell type footage was released of Stephen berating his at the time 9-month pregnant wife with a lot of things. And the way that I see it is, I think Candace Owens a lot of times does a lot of things for shock value and to get views. I don't think she's necessarily in the right in this. No.
I don't love the idea of having personal footage like from a Ring doorbell cam kind of thing. It wasn't really from the doorbell, like from inside their home, basically on their private property. I don't love that being released, but I also think it's incredibly bad that Stephen Crowder would badmouth his wife when he has the platform that he does. He has that level of a platform, and Hillary does not have a platform. That's one thing I did like about Candace. I think she extended an offer and said, "Hillary, if you have anything you want to say," because that's only fair. When Stephen has the platform that he does and the viewership that he does, and he's going to partially be part of the problem in making this divorce super duper public. You got to open yourself up to.
And right before the whole divorce thing, Landau went on to
the Michael Malice show.
The Michael Malice show, yeah.
I watched all that, yeah.
I watched the whole thing and talked about their.
And he was very honest and very forthright, and also was I think gave Stephen the benefit of the doubt when he deserved it. He wasn't going on there and trying to badmouth Stephen or anything like that. He was like, here's simply what happened. Honestly, Dave Landau, the comedian, from the show, who I had on my show one time. If you go far back into like Spotify and stuff, I had Dave Lando on my show over a year ago. And I went and met him at one of his comedy shows. Really cool guy. And he flat out basically said to me, he was like, I'm not like really like a big conservative. He's like, I'm right leaning, but I just think like a lot of the crap the left does is funny. And he's a comedian. And so it's really crazy to me that on the Michael Malice show, the comedian was the most journalistic person I've almost ever heard, because he was not on there bad mouthing Steven. He gave it like it was and said, this was my experience with it.
Right. I mean, and I think Landau was candid. And I think it was interesting when he pointed out that, hey, Steven he told me, hey, you know what? You're funnier than me. And I don't like that.
Yeah.
Like, and Landau was hilarious.
There was apparently a light that was like, if Steven didn't want Dave to talk.
Dave shut up light.
Yeah, the Dave shut up light. It's crazy. Yeah, the Dave shut up light, all that stuff. I see there's one thing, and I really do want to shout it out. I've been trying to get back in touch with Dave, but obviously he's become kind of more of a hot commodity. I had his number. I reached out to him. I think he's just been really busy. So I'm going to try to get him maybe on here at some point, because I do consider him a friend. But somebody's here said Dave Landau, I think, is starting his own thing. He recently did something with Quarter Black Garrett. Yes. So on the Blaze, they're going to have this show. It's called Normal World. I'm going to pull it up real quick. I'm going to pull up the YouTube. I really do want to shout it out. I think it's flipping awesome. I watched the first episode of it. Like I said, I'm trying to pull it up right now. Present, share screen. Just look at this. Look, go subscribe if you are not already to this YouTube. It's going to be, I think, on the Blaze. Dave Landau. Trying to get it. That's pretty much full screen there. So at the DT Landau, do it later. Go subscribe. I think it's great. I love Dave. Like I said, I've met him. I think he's an awesome guy. And when it comes to Steven Crowder, I was a major fan of Steven Crowder for a long time. A lot of what I loved from him also included Dave, because I thought Dave was just funny and witty. But go watch Normal World. Not after we're done with this live stream, go watch it. It's 30 minutes. Like I said, I'm pretty sure it's going to be on, I'm pretty sure it's going to be on.
It's on the Blaze.
On the Blaze, yes.
Yeah,
So coming sometime soon, if it's not already. It's going to be a full like sketch series, and it's really, like I said, it's just so funny. Like they have a whole video where it's called like Man Packs or something like that. And it's like a Tampax commercial for men. It's hilarious.
Well, I was also, I was a huge Steven Crowder fan. He was one of my go-tos. It was always him and Shapiro were my go-tos. And I love Steven. After the whole breakdown with the Blaze, or after the whole thing with the Daily Wire, it put a bad taste in my mouth, and I was like, I don't know, but hey, benefit of the doubt, maybe he just misinterpreted this. Then the Dave thing came out. I think Jim says at best there's two sides, but I seem to trust Dave for some reason. Me too. Dave just seemed very honest. He seemed because he was very candid to his own mistakes, and I think that was interesting.
That thing I really did not like. I really didn't like how he talked to his wife in that video. Again, I have a problem with it being released, and I also know and I try to also think about it from the perspective of marriages, people get into fights and it was only verbal and everything. It never got physical. And I know that it could be way, way worse. But it's just an awful look when you're yelling you don't love me and stuff to your 9-month pregnant wife. It was just an awful look. Steven Crowder looks awful in these situations. I thought, but I will, his change my mind videos, Crowder set the stage. You want the most recent video I had where I went out and talked to protesters, my foundation for keeping my cool and being able to talk to people came from watching change my mind videos.
Yeah, no, I agreed. And it's it's interesting too, because I feel like you always heard those horror stories from Crowder about, because he did have a lot of worker turnaround. And I always thought it was, he's kind of a big guy, but these guys get other opportunities. And so that's great that they're using, they can use Steven to jump in ways. Some of these guys are still under NDAs. I know the one article reached out to Nake Jared, and he said no comment because he's like, I'm under an NDA. And some of them still were.
And that's what Dave said, is that I think they wanted him to sign one and he said no.
Yeah, they said, or no, they said they wanted him to sign an NDA, and they gave him 2 offers. And his response was, whichever one fits more firmly up his ass. Let's order breakfast. And that's such a perfect Dave response.
Yeah. No, he's a very candid guy. He tells a lot of things like it is. I think he's very, when you watch him, especially his comedy, his stand-up comedy too, he's almost kind of dry with the way that he says things sometimes. And it's just really funny. It's a certain type of humor that you got to be into. But I think I think he's really funny. I'm really excited for this normal world stuff. I like I said, I watched the first episode off of YouTube, and I think it's hilarious. I'll reach back out to Dave and see. I texted him like 2 weeks ago. It was on a night though that he had a show too, so he might have even missed it. Or he's just too big for me now, which totally could be part of it.
Yeah, I
too.
mean, listen, he's huge. When it comes to Steven Crowder, I haven't watched Crowder since. I don't. For the time being, with everything I've seen, I don't see myself going back.
Yeah, and to me, it's not even just about it's not even all about like all the bad behavior and stuff like that. Like I could put it past him. I could not look past it. I could keep watching his content despite the bad behavior if there was the people, because I think the thing that made Louder with Crowder was Dave Landau, Porter Black, Nake Jared, and all of his producers and everything like that. It was those people. And without them, it's just not the same show, you know?
Yeah.
And
I'm also not the biggest fan of, throwing his friends. Like, to me, throwing friends under the bus is kind of a terrible thing. I mean, I think you and me could speak on that. We won't, but we could.
Yeah.
Throwing your friends aside is never great. And to me, I think the one thing that really was like, he was like, oh, maybe I'll start my own platform, this and that. And then he went and joined Rumble. I'm like, that was it. That was your big thing.
Yeah.
Like,
I feel like there's a lot of times I felt like even this with some of his Change My Mind videos too, is that they'd be really hyped up as if like there was like this really big drama in them. And then it wouldn't be like, it'd still be interesting, but I felt like it was overhyped and under delivered.
Yeah. Exactly. If it was, I'm starting my own Daily Wire like thing and we're going to do this and this, I'd be like, okay, so you know what? That's cool. You really set it up. It was like, it's this big thing. Maybe I'll start my own this and that. And then I'm like, oh, yeah, I'm on Rumble. It's like, that was it. Like, that was it. Like, you went to Rumble. Okay.
Yeah. And I think there's also bigger issues. I mean, like if Crowder's still the person you get a lot of your stuff from, I don't blame you. I mean, like he usually does really good research. And the people behind him, oftentimes the people behind the cameras and stuff, like I know that a lot of his producers do a lot of good work. It just seems like he pushes a lot of people to their limit. In ways that are like good, that some people it's good. It's an okay working environment for them, but it seems it's controversial.
Yeah. I think to me, it's one of the things where it's like, I think he pushes his workers so much and then he doesn't expect it from himself at the same time.
That's true.
I think could be an issue. If he was constantly writing and doing everything the same way, I'd have a little more respect for it, but it almost seems like he doesn't. Which I mean, I guess, yes, you do hire people to do that for you, but you can't expect a lot. And then, like Dave, even David said, there'd be days he just didn't show up.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, okay, that's an issue then, because you're expecting a lot from your employees and then not doing the same thing.
Absolutely.
Of course, there's some anger. So.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, this is great one. Very interesting.
That was a very good question. We're willing to field any questions. Otherwise, I'll just find some other news stuff to talk about. I know Title 42 is a big story, and like I care about illegal immigration, but to be straight, it's like I don't know what else I could even say to it. I'm also like being in Illinois, being not even near Chicago, Illinois. It's just it kind of goes over my head a little bit.
I mean, I'm kind of near the border down here.
You're in Las Vegas.
I mean, we're near the border-ish. I mean, I could see it being an issue eventually. For now, it's not a thing. Oh, there's a spider. Hello. Yeah, I don't know. I just don't see it being the biggest issue right now. I mean, it's a big issue. It's a big issue, but there's really no good solution to.
No, it's like people are flooding through the border, and like there's what else? What can we do right now? Like I think that's the biggest question answer for a lot of these kinds of things is people feel hopeless when it comes to some of the policies that are being enacted or just allowed by Joe Biden. And so what can you do when it comes to the border? The best thing I can say is just be ready for 2024.
Yep.
Because it's gonna get worse before it gets better.
Yeah. I mean, 100%. It's gonna get worse, and it sucks that. This Title 42, I mean, people are saying reinstated. It's like, but it was a COVID era policy. It was going to end eventually. We knew that.
Yeah, but there needed to be something to
Right,
replace
but
it.
right. The problem was that the Biden administration wasn't prepared, and
Well, Kamala Harris, the borders are. What has she been working on? Now she's also the AI czar. Oh, no,
she's the czar. She's the czar of everything.
Yeah, which I
especially
also just think is such a funny title for anything, being called the czar. I don't know.
Is she the czar of sleeping her way to the top yet?
Let's look up. But so
you just ignored that.
I'm gonna look up at everything that she's the czar of. That's what I was. I was just like, okay, Josh.
Wait. Hey. I'm allegedly.
What did this one from Ryan Mack? He's a kind of host on Cities. China quietly invaded Russia at one point with floods of Chinese nationals over time. Goal is to slowly break down America and change culture for good transformation. Yep. That's the thing.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm like that.
I actually did see a thing today. They said at one of the border crossing locations, they actually found an Afghan national that was on the terror watch list.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So we are actually seeing the creative ways for them to get into the country through the border. So they apprehended an Afghan national who was on the terror watch list. And so, I mean, and we know this is going to be a thing too. If they know that they're going to just get creative with it. That's my fear. That's my concern, is that some of these people who shouldn't be here are going to find creative ways to get here through the border.
Yeah. No, absolutely. It wouldn't surprise me at all. I mean, our immigration system right now, and it's not even just the southern border, but Title 42 obviously has a lot to do with the southern border. Our immigration system is just crap. And I think that the other thing too to recognize for the most part is that the majority of Republicans and conservatives are very, very supportive of legal immigration. We want people who have a history of working hard, making money, and wanting to contribute to the American community and also get to know American culture. Look, here's the thing, is I'm not going to say you got to come here and be 100% like you got to know English perfectly and you got to like, I don't have like super duper high expectations, but we have a culture here in America, at least a base level culture that is worth assimilating to.
Yeah.
You know,
like
you're not going to come here and feed off the government. Or at least that's not what we want. We don't want people to come here and feed off the government. We don't want people to come here and act entitled to anything. And so come here. And also we kind of do expect that you get to know English. No, it's not a national language, but like, it's kind of a part of it, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
well,
you gotta communicate, learn to communicate.
I think DeSantis in Iowa said we should shut down our immigration for just like a year.
Yeah.
And just really sort this out. Just shut it down for a year. Let's figure it out. I'm all in favor of going back to the visa process of, hey, we need this career. Oh, you're cool. You're specializing in that. All right. Citizenship. I mean, that's what we do.
Yep.
It's how we get some of our greatest doctors, engineers, scientists. We
need, I mean, there's a lot of fields that we're in shortages of. We should push, if you're certified or whatever in this, let's push you up to that. And like, we'll get people, legal immigrants, but we need to the thing is we cannot focus on reshaping our immigration system until we get illegal immigration under control.
Right. I mean, I think I said it at the debate 2 years ago when we did the one debate. I said we can't even begin to talk about the immigration system if we can't agree there should be a border. And there's some people who just don't think we should have a border. And DeSantis spoke on that in the speech. He goes, "There's this whole we're citizens of the world." No, we're citizens of the United States. And there's a power to that. There is a power to being a United States citizen, and we can't just wield that power. We have to learn to actually take that to our advantage, because being a United States citizen is one of the greatest advantages you can have in the world. I mean, it simply is. Absolutely. And yeah, I mean, it's a shame what's going on, and that we can't figure this out.
No, I 100% agree. I think what was this one? Texas is having a lot of issues. My friend has been working through legal immigration system for over a decade, and he's been set back again. And now he's debating moving back to India because it's safer.
That's horrible.
Yeah. No, our immigration system is screwed. And I want to finish the thought too. Like, yes, most conservative Republicans, there's some that are against it entirely. most conservative Republicans want legal immigration to reform legal immigration. The problem is like this open border stuff, and we cannot change anything if our immigration system is consistently flooded with refugees and illegal immigrants just coming across the border. And then we also have crime coming across the border. Not every illegal immigrant brings crime, but the majority of sex trafficking has to do with illegal immigration. And through our unsafe southern border, a significant amount of our fentanyl comes through, fentanyl and just illicit drugs, period, come through our southern border. Like, we need to be able to get these things under control, and we cannot.
Did you see the video of Ted Cruz going off on that reporter?
Oh, I can pull that up. Yeah. You want
Great
to
video.
show it a little bit?
Yeah. So a reporter asked something about immigration and was kind of playing the talking points of the Biden administration. And Cruz, I love Cruz. I especially love when Cruz gets angry because he's truthful. This was angry Cruz, and I loved it. Was going off on this reporter and really talked about, I think he said, have you been to that border? Cool. Or no? Cool. Then be quiet, because I was just there. And this is what I just saw, and basically laid out everything. The bracelets thing was one that I did not know about. When he laid that out, talking about the different colored bracelets. Do you know about that?
No, I don't. I'm trying to find the video right now here too, but you can.
So what he was saying, he said, if you go to the border, there are different colored bracelets laying all over the ground. What those are is that young men, they put different colored bracelets on because that's the money you owe the cartel. Different colors coordinate to different amounts. And so a lot of them get here and will cut them off and try to run so the cartel can't find them. But oftentimes then that leads to more violence because they'll find you and kill you or your family and things like that. So you're seeing these bracelets littered all around. He goes, but that's ultimately what's going on, is the cartel is, being emboldened by this because they are now making a ton of money based on this.
Yeah, I'm gonna pull up. Here's the video that I found, and if it's longer or something, we can find it. Let's take a look at right here.
In 2020. Do you know anything? I asked you a question. Do you know anything? How long have you been in office? I've been in office 11 years now. And this is okay. The count during multiple administrations. Except you're okay. You don't get to argue with me. You asked your question. You asked your question. You don't get. You want to hold a press conference? You can do it over there. You want to hold a press conference? You can do it over there.
How are you?
So hold on. I'm going to answer his question. The talking point of the Democrats, which this media reporter happily parrots, is, gosh, the problem can't be fixed. There's one little problem with that. It is an utter and complete lie. In 2020, the last year of the Trump presidency, we had the lowest rate of illegal immigration in 45 years. You ask, what have I done? I've championed the men and women of Border Patrol. I've championed securing the border. I've championed Remain in Mexico. And we turned this problem around and solved it. And we went from Joe Biden inherited the lowest rate of illegal immigration in 45 years. And the first day in office, he made political decisions to cause this problem. And you should be ashamed of yourself because you're a reporter and you're not reporting facts. You're telling lies. Joe Biden made a political.
So obviously it seems like there's a little bit more that wasn't mentioned that you had brought up, and
it's like a 5-minute video overall.
Gotcha,
but I love angry Ted Cruz because he's so right. He was so right in everything he said.
I love how he grew the beard too, because like he looked like a man child when he didn't have
that beard. Yeah.
I
think he said he grew a beard and some balls at the same time. Like he really just that toughened him up, man.
Yeah.
But no, like I love it. I get the fact that you're a reporter. You should be ashamed of yourself for what you're saying, because you're just blatantly lying to the American people. And it is interesting because I even had a student who they had to do end of the year projects, and she did on immigration, and it was really, 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 really good presentation. Put a lot of time into it. One of the best ones I got.
Yeah.
But they kept asking, I just don't get the problem with immigration and this and that. Like, well, it's a huge issue. There's a lot there. We had a good 5-minute conversation. And the one thing they said was, I just don't know why we're so concerned with illegal immigration. I said, okay, and do you know what? So let's explore this.
Yeah.
And so Jim, you can kind of see my classroom runs here. I said, so let's explore this. I said, do you let anyone into your house? And they're like, well, no, of course not. I said, right. Why don't you let anyone into your house? Well, I would like to know who's in there. I said, right. You want to know who's in there. Why do you want to know who's in there? Why don't you let anyone in? But you never know who they are. You're right. You never know who they are. So let's now expand that to a country. Should we let just anyone in? Well, no, right, because you don't know who they are, right? Yeah. So you want to make sure you know their background. You want to at least know their name, what their background is, what do they do. You know, you don't invite someone over to your house unless you've known them for some time.
Absolutely.
You know, you want to make sure you trust them. And so I said, so take that same logic, put it to the country. That's why we have a system. I said, now, is the system difficult? Yeah. Is it expensive? Yeah. And her parents had immigrated from, I think, Japan, or her mom had immigrated from Japan. Who was talking to me like, yeah, it's this nice. I go, right. So since you know firsthand how tough it can be, I said, and could we make it easier? Could we make it less expensive, less time? Yeah, absolutely. I said, but we can't even begin to do that because we're being overwhelmed with this issue. And she walked out of there and she's like, yeah, okay, that makes sense. I thank you. I was like, yeah, like that's what we're here for. That's what teachers are here for, to just get you to think about this a little more. And the next day she came in, she's like, I have a solution. I forgot exactly what the solution was, but she had like some ideas. And I'm like, I'm getting you to think about real world things. Perfect.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Like I was so happy that she thought on it, and had these cool ideas. And I'm like, yes, like, all right, doing my job, very, very proud moment for me. But yeah, I mean, it's interesting. And it's breaking it down to that bare minimum of your house was enough to really make them understand it.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to switch gears a little bit. This is a story I mentioned a little bit earlier, but now I found some more evidence for it so that we can bring it up. But so Twitter recently, or Elon Musk recently announced that he was making a new person the CEO of Twitter following quite a while ago now, like a month or two. He posted a poll where he said, should I step down as CEO of Twitter? Most people found yes, that he should step down as the CEO of Twitter. And so he said that he would find somebody new. It was announced that he chose Linda Yaccarino. Linda Yaccarino is an American media executive. She was the chair of advertising and sales for NBC Universal. And she is now succeeding Elon as the CEO of Twitter. Some things by private people on Twitter, they have found that she follows Bumble, Jack Posobiec, Libs of TikTok, Malaysian woke mind virus survivor Ian Miles Chong, and then she also flaunts her chair position at the WEF, World Economic Forum, that has a outwardly bragging globalist agenda. So one person on Twitter begs a question, or talks about the new Twitter CEO being either far left woke globalist or far right anti-LGBTQ MAGA. And Elon Musk says, is it possible to be LGBTQAnon? But so what do you what do you think about the new LGBTQAnon?
That's hilarious. That's hilarious.
I'll pull up that tweet and share it on the screen so everybody can see it.
I mean, I don't know much about this person. I've seen some stuff that, yeah, I mean, she's pro-mask. She was pro-lockdown. She was obviously she's part of the WEF, but she's also kind of these right-wing things. I mean, I hate to say it, but could she be so far extreme on both sides that she's almost an extreme moderate?
Maybe.
Like, I mean, I know that sounds weird, but like she's, she kind of goes this back and forth and wants to understand everything. So there's this like, super extreme moderate. I don't know. I mean, that's a really interesting thing. My hope is that, Musk does still have some power over Twitter.
Well, I think he still owns it, right?
He still owns it. I think he said he's gonna be I think he's gonna be the CFO in something else.
Oh, well, yeah. So, okay, probably likely if he owns it, he's likely like chairman of the board or something. So that's one big thing. And then along with that, I mean, he's the owner, he's the CFO, you said too. So he'll have decision-making power there, but yeah, I mean, so he's got a lot, he'll still have a lot of power in terms of that. But we're running just past 3 hours now on this stream. I've been at work. I still got to walk home. So I really appreciate everybody tuning in wherever you tuned in from. Thank you guys so much. Now that my school is now out, so I have a lot more time for content, bringing it out and everything, and growing the page. In the meantime, if you make sure, if you haven't already, go watch my video of me interacting with the protesters that came out yesterday. It was a video that I took 2 days ago, so it's pretty timely, right? Like that. Go check that out. Make sure you give it a like, a share. If you're on YouTube, especially Speechless with Kev Ferris, please like, subscribe, and share all of that stuff. Really trying to grow it, make sure that we get the message out there that young people are conservative. We're here and we're gonna stay here. Josh, any final words for our viewers?
No, thank you for tuning in. Kev, thanks for having me. I always love coming in and doing this. I will be, I have 3.5 days left, and then I'll be home for most of the summer. So I'm sure we'll figure something out.
We'll get you down into the studio. Absolutely.
Yeah, in studio and have some, just have a fun little show, then a stream or something. But I mean, this is super fun, and thanks for sticking around the extra hour, hour and a half or whatever. It was fun.
Absolutely. Okay. Thank you, Josh. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Until next time, this has been Speechless on Cities 92.9 and on YouTube. Talk to you guys later.